Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
The pitch from Marsh, line drive, left field, pretty well hit. Taylor backpedals near the track to make the catch. Casas coming to the plate, and he will score as the throw is cut off by the third baseman, Garcia. And the Red Sox have a 1-0 lead on a sacrifice fly by Alex Verdugo.
The 3-2. High fly ball to right. Back to the wall is Jones, and he leaps, and it is gone. A home run. Muncy hits his 28th home run of the year. And with one crack of the bat, the Dodgers have tied the score at 1.
Pitch, this is driven. Deep left field. Racing back, and it is gone. Mounty goes yard, and the Orioles tack on 2 more. Back-to-back extra base hits. Ryan Mountcastle with that base hit extends the hit streak to 12 games, the on-base streak to 17, and a big 2-run shot puts the Birds up 5-2.
First pitch to him is hit high in the air to left field, and that is traveling deep into left center, and they look up, and it is gone. Andrew Kisner has hit a big fly to deep left center field. A 2-run shot, his 9th of the year, and the Cardinals jump out on top 2-0.
It's the moment dreams are made of. At the Pinnacle Bank Championship, we are live from the club at Indian Creek. We're happy to have you with us as I'm joined by Ravil Lulla on this magical morning here on the golf course. The sun is up. The mist is gone. Balls are being struck. Fairways are being hit.
We hope.
No, I saw at least one.
Okay, good. Well, that's fairway.
Thanks for interrupting my intro.
Singular.
I was getting to my I was really getting to my feels. I was getting to my peak, my cliff.
Excuse me.
I was about to jump off.
Let me reset you here. Fairways are being hit.
Fairways are being hit. What did I say? Balls are being struck. Yeah. Now I don't even know where I was going with this. This was unplanned, but in my head it seemed planned. Bodies are jumping into the pond at 17. Well, maybe today after it is Friday, and we are at the Hurrdat Sports Pavilion, which is an all-inclusive tent. So it wouldn't shock me that on a day where you have tomorrow off, that we see at least one guy take off his shirt and jump into this pond.
We are not condoning that nor suggesting that. It's just
But if you want to do it, let me know so I can get it on video.
It's just a prediction of possible chicanery.
Because we're all about getting a little wild over at
it's Friday. Gotta get a little loose. Gotta get a little loose.
Well, it's funny too because as I was walking the course yesterday and I was doing some interviews with the guys after their rounds, Anna Bellinghausen, decided to make the trek over to the pavilion just to see what was going on. We had some pavilion tickets we were giving away on social media as well, which is a really solid deal. And you wouldn't believe how many people said no to me when I went up and asked them if they were interested in being a part of a social trivia video in order to get a spot at the Hurrdat Sports Pavilion.
It's a pretty sweet pavilion, guys.
Well, first off, it's shaded, right? You have a spot to sit.
That's where I like sitting.
TVs are on.
I love TV.
And the best part about it all, you walk inside these doors and you get free drinks, you get food on the regular, and there's AC that comes through the ground. And if you stand on top of the little sewer drain, it feels like you're Marilyn Monroe in it a little bit. Like you're trying to keep your shorts down. It's really nice in there. And I struggled so hard to find at least 1 or 2 people to take the tickets off my hands. Can you believe that?
We're trying to help you out here, people.
I'm just trying to let people have a good time.
That's all we're here. We're just here to have a good time. That's what we do here. We're just here to have, I know you're a big golf guy. I'm a medium golf guy.
Cam's a small golf guy.
I'm a watch the majors golf guy. You know what I am big into though? Drinking outside during the summer. And
with other people.
This is a terrific. Yes, I don't want to do it alone. That bums me out. No, and this
right,
is
Sally. This is a little doll to his right.
See, but
and Dino.
Drinking outside with my dogs does not count as company because they're not allowed to have the alcohol.
Robbie's over here like, right, Seabiscuit? And the horse just comes walking across the yard.
But yeah, so even if you're like only meh about the golf, which I imagine is terrific still, you can be all in on hanging out outside. It's been gorgeous this week. Just hang out, get some food, get some drinks, hang out with other people. Come on, what are we doing?
And I've heard a lot of people tell me too that they've just walked the course.
Yeah, and some people just like being outside.
I think Jess and Alexis were saying that earlier this week. We had Mark Wisdom on from the Pinnacle Bank yesterday. He said he liked to find his spot on 15, but it's just like people really enjoy just walking the path because you don't walk cart paths on the regular.
No,
you don't get to walk this scenery ever, whenever you're just walking your dog or riding your bike or whatever.
And it's beautiful out here. I mean, it's a incredibly scenic course. We've been super lucky to be out here all week. And yeah, it's like, if you just want to be one of those people who likes to walk outside, come hang out, get your walk in, maybe get a drink when you're done. There's no way to lose here.
Well, I couldn't drink yesterday, obviously. Working.
Yeah.
But I went home and felt drunk after watching the Johnny Manziel documentary.
Man, that thing was a little unhinged.
It was nice, though.
It
was nice to
really interesting stuff in there.
To see kind of how his life spiraled in the direction it did.
Yes, it provided a lot of context to what we saw play out in front of us.
Because all we got to see was what was actually happening on the football field, and it wasn't good.
Yeah, and like
outside of college,
and a little bit of the, a little bit of social media stuff. Little bit of,
and he got arrested in college, and then we knew he checked into rehab because every news source was saying that. So
the stuff with his agent was fascinating. The way he was like trying to handle everything. That might have been my favorite part of the doc.
Well, not only his agent, but his best friend.
Yeah, Nate, that he doesn't talk to anymore.
Just the fall guy. That shocked me.
Yeah.
That was the biggest bomb drop.
Dropped a bomb that's like, yeah, we haven't spoke since. And that was like 8 years ago. And just casually, we're like, yeah,
and casually kept talking about it.
Yes.
For me, I was watching the doc and thinking, once I heard that, all the stuff I heard at the beginning, I'm like, wait a second. You guys have no ill will toward one another. You're talking as if you're still best friends for the first 50 minutes of this documentary.
And you have not spoken in 9 years.
And you haven't spoken in 9 years.
Yeah.
I thought, whoa.
That's what I thought. Whoa. Swear to goodness. That's what I thought.
The strangest part because they just blew right by it. So I almost wonder if, in order to get Johnny Manziel to do it, that was something that they agreed not to spend too much time on, that part of the falling out. Because they moved past it pretty quick. They talked about it briefly, and then they moved right past it. So that was pretty strange to me.
It was strange that Johnny just kind of said, like, yeah, I knew I had to let go.
Well, and he was like, I understood the explanation, right? Like, he was seen as somebody who was, not a good influence on Johnny, and it was probably a two-way street, right? I don't think Johnny was a great influence on anyone either. But he also mentioned, like, in the same breath, I'm so loyal. And then he's like, yep, haven't talked to him since. And I was like, that doesn't seem like super
he goes, I'm loyal to my people until I can't be anymore. Like something like that. Or I'm loyal to my people until I have to be loyal to myself.
And it's like, you can't even send like a text message now. Like, I get you can't go out partying with him and hopping on the private jets and doing all the crazy stuff that you were doing. But I was, you can't give the man a phone call. Like, he was your fall guy. He
was your best friend.
He was your best friend. And that's what Nate said, right? He's like, I'm not upset about the business side of it. He's like, he was my best friend. And that part was really, really strange. The strangest thing about the documentary for me overall, because Netflix has done several of these like untold stories, right?
Some are good, some are okay.
Like the Manti Te'o one was fascinating.
Yep. Was the Arizona State basketball team mixed into the Untolds, or was that a different set of series?
I don't remember if it was a different series or not, but some of them are like really well done. The weird thing for this one for me was I thought it was well done. I thought there was really interesting stuff in there. It didn't really change how I felt about Johnny Manziel. Like, I felt bad about the like mental health struggles that he had gone through, and obviously he like contemplated suicide and stuff like that, which is obviously really serious. And so I felt bad about that that he got to that place. But just sitting there, like listening to him talk and stuff, it's like, it doesn't seem like he's learned that much. I don't know. That's what I took away. Like when I watched the Manti Te'o one, I felt terrible for that dude.
Oh, as you should.
Like I was like, this dude's life was wrecked. It happened publicly and in an incredibly.
And then he took the heat for it.
Yeah, and then in an incredibly embarrassing fashion where he really didn't do anything wrong.
He didn't do
a little
anything.
Naive, sure, but he didn't do anything wrong. Whereas Johnny Manziel was actively making bad decisions, and didn't really seem to learn that much from it. And it was, I don't know.
So Johnny is the type of guy that just doesn't really want to do anything in life, right? Like he's just kind of content with being a homebody, content with drinking at home with his friend, like partying, doing that. He has the money to be able to do that right now, hopefully.
I think, hopefully. That's the thing is, I mean, because he's not, they made it clear in the documentary, he's not doing anything right now.
Right. And so, but that's, I think, the life that he just wants to live for himself.
Which I get.
He doesn't want to work. And he's just a lazy human being. And I'm not trying to like say these things as a negative for him. Like this is just who he is.
No, they said it in the documentary. He didn't work at football. He didn't study film. He hardly wanted to go to practice. Yeah.
He just wanted to use his natural God-given athletic ability to be better than his opponent,
which took him a very long way, to be fair.
And it probably would have taken him even further in the NFL.
He wanted to work.
If he wanted to work.
And so that I was mostly, I mean, it was really fun to watch the college highlights again. Cause like, I remember watching those are incredible. I remember that Alabama game so specifically. And he was a marvel to watch in college, but the rest of it, I was just kind of like, I was fascinated, but it really didn't move me much. I was just kind of like, yeah, that's Johnny Manziel. I will say the one really interesting thing that, and I don't know if you remember this as it was happening in the moment, but the lie that Nate came up with about his family being rich, because I literally remember them talking about that.
Seeing the oil money come through.
Yeah, I remember people talking about it on TV and on like online and stuff like that.
And once one person picks it up,
it was gone.
Everybody else picks it up.
To the races, right? And they're just like, oh yeah, his family's got oil money. He's independently wealthy. And like, I was like, oh, okay. And that's just a thing that people still believe to this day.
You know why we believe that? Is because a news source is telling us that.
Yes.
Because we don't know the information, so we expect the experts to know it. But that also goes to show how flawed our news system is, that you just hear something.
Especially 10 years ago or when it was happening.
I mean, even today. I mean, I worked in the local news and it was completely flawed.
So it was, and it was kind of a strange time where the internet was less prominent. Obviously in 2012, the internet existed and it was a real thing or whatever, but it was kind of in this transition time where people got their information from both the news and the internet. And so what I think happened a lot back then, and I'm sure it still happens now, was people would see something on the internet, assume it was true, and then it would get taken onto the news. And it was that, and honestly, to tie it back into the Manti Te'o thing, it happened the same way with Manti Te'o's deal, right? Where no one, until that one guy in the documentary for Manti Te'o, did any digging about whether the story was true or not. Nobody in the Johnny Manziel situation did any digging to figure out.
So what's funny about that
if his family had money or not.
You hit the nail on the head without even like really explaining the back end work of how the local news scene works.
Yeah.
You said you see an article and then the news like picks up that article. Really what happens is you see an article and the news will first start to be, hey, first reported by this person, and then read the article. Well, then another news station somewhere else will pick it up and just
reported by the news station.
Right. Yeah. And then that news station will get picked up. And now it just becomes like news. It's not a, hey, somebody wrote this article anymore. It's a bad game of telephone when you play in third grade. When I tell Ravi the words banana and it ends up coming back to me and it's tortito.
Yes. No, you're exactly right. And that phenomenon absolutely still happens today, where a rumor gets reported as a rumor, and then it gets reported that by another news source that it's been reported, and then they slowly lose the origin of it as it gets aggregated, and then all of a sudden I hear this happens on like NBA Twitter all the time, right? So Bill Simmons does these wild speculations and stuff on his podcast all the time, and he admits it. He's like, this isn't inside information. This is just a thing that I think would be cool if it happened, right? Not even saying it could happen, just, oh, this would be sweet. And then some website or Twitter or Twitter person aggregates it, and then it gets reported from the news site or the Twitter, and then it gets reported from the website, and then all of a sudden it's sources tell Bill Simmons that Jaylen Brown's going to be traded for a bag of potato chips, and it's just, wait, how did this happen? And if you listen to the podcast, he's like, hey, this is a fake trade I made up. Wouldn't it be fun? And like, wait, how did this happen? How did we get here from that? And that's exactly what happened with the oil money story with Johnny Manziel's family. It was a wild, just, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so that was honestly my favorite part of the documentary, because it was something that I so specifically remembered from the moment and being like, holy crap, that was just some college kid's harebrained idea to cover his buddy's butt.
Well, and I think Manziel would have been really successful if he took the Dennis Rodman approach. He needed a Michael Jordan. He couldn't be Michael Jordan in his life.
Mm-hmm.
He needed an MJ, because the way he went about his life was like Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
He couldn't be the face. He needed to be second or third on the list on that A&M football team. And it's hard because you're the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're the quarterback of a team and you're making the flashy plays, it's easy to get picked up as the number one fan favorite individual on this team. But he would have been an even bigger contributor, not only for the Browns,
mm-hmm.
but maybe even longer in college if he was second fiddle to somebody else.
Yeah, so there's a couple interesting points there that you kind of bring up. And one of them is he was never expecting to be this kind of star, either from himself or from anyone else, really. He was, I believe, a 3-star coming out of high school, pretty lightly recruited. They said in the documentary he wanted to go to Texas. That never even materialized as an offer. And so he ends up going to Texas A&M because that was, I think, pretty much the only major school in Texas that wanted him. I believe at one point he was committed to Oregon in their offense. They ended up getting Marcus Mariota, I believe, in that same recruiting cycle, which worked out well for them. But so he was not one of these 5-star, highly regarded, like super microscope on them in high school type guys. He was just a dude, right? And then he gets to Texas A&M. He redshirts his first year, so he's kind of under the radar then. That's when he got arrested for the assault charge, like you mentioned there. And so he's just flying under the radar for much of his life, and then boom, all of a sudden, he's the Heisman Trophy winner. Like, there was no steps of escalation for his life. He just went from total unknown, we have no idea who this guy is, to he is your Heisman front runner, just in the blink of an eye. Like, literally in the matter of like probably 6 weeks, he went from total nobody to Heisman front runner.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that happens, it's not something most people are able to handle well. Now, he handled it particularly poorly, but most people.
How so?
Watch the doc. There's a list. But it's something that is a really difficult thing to deal with. So I sort of sympathize for him for that. But the other thing that you brought up, which I think you're dead on, is his personality was never going to allow him to be the face of a franchise. Mm-hmm. And because of the position he played, this was never going to work out. And it's easy to look back with hindsight in 2020. I get that. But because of how his brain's wired, right? I think still to this day, watching the
it sure is.
Like, I think this is just who he is. I don't think it's an immaturity thing.
I think he's better.
Yes, I think he's grown up
at home, like at home inside himself.
Yes,
like
he's more at peace with himself,
right?
But I think deep down, he's a guy that you wouldn't want to be the face of your franchise, and that's fine. There's a lot of people who are good people, and I don't know if Johnny Manziel is a good person or a bad person, but there's a lot of people who are plenty good people who you probably wouldn't want as the face of your franchise if you're an NFL team. But because of his position, if he was a running back, he'd have been fine. Right. If he was a corner or a wide receiver or whatever, he'd have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because of his position, he had to be Michael Jordan. Every quarterback in the NFL has to be Michael Jordan in terms of importance to their team.
Right.
You don't get to be Dennis Rodman as a quarterback. You don't get to be Scottie Pippen as a quarterback. You have to be
He
Michael
just couldn't
Jordan.
handle it.
No, it was always going.
He wanted to be a partier.
It was always going to be too much for him.
He wanted to take the student approach instead of the student athlete approach.
Yeah, he said this in the doc. He was a frat boy who liked playing football. He was not a football player who happened to like to party.
And he also was blessed with all this money, all this income, with all this fame. And then he got surrounded by other people that are even bigger than he is, like the Drakes of the world
and the
LeBrons of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point in the doc too, his mom said he wasn't going to listen to us. He's hanging out with Drake and LeBron.
Yeah.
Like they basically said, we can't control him.
Yeah, they had to throw their hands up and be like, I mean, why is he going to listen to us? He's got his own money. He's got his own fame. He's hanging out with people that are huge and influential and popular and whatever.
And his parents tried.
Oh, sure. Especially at first. Like, it seemed like it took them at least after that first season when he won the Heisman and stuff before they were like, oh, this thing's out of our hands. Which is a really hard thing for parents to admit. And B, I'm sure it was really difficult for them to go through at the time. It was the documentary was fascinating. I just walked away. I was like, I don't really feel any differently about Johnny Manziel.
No, I've always liked him.
I sort of like him. I'm sort of like, man,
I just always liked what he did in college, and those are the years I remember.
Phenomenal, right?
So even when he went to the NFL, I'm like, okay, like even though he fell off the map, like that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of guys. I mean,
so I have no.
I mentioned Marcus Mariota. It's not like Marcus Mariota lit on fire. He's a professional, so he's managed to stay in the league. But Johnny Manziel was never going to be the guy that was like a career backup. Right?
No,
like his brain doesn't work that way.
Right, he had to be the one.
If he's not the star, he's not interested.
Right, and I was just gonna say I have no animosity toward.
Oh, I don't either.
Toward Johnny Manziel.
No.
I just think he was really fun to watch. He was fun for me in 2012 and 2013.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna credit him for giving me some really good college football years.
And it's not like I know there was some weird like restraining order with the girlfriend and stuff,
right.
But it doesn't seem like he really hurt anybody. Except for kind of himself, so it's, I don't really sometimes I have a hard time coming around on people that hurt other people. Right. But it doesn't really seem like he did that, or he was kind of self-destructive. And he seems okay with it, so I don't,
he's living at peace with himself right now.
Which is all that matters. Like, I'm glad that he's mentally seems to be in a better place, with the suicidal thoughts and stuff. That's obviously, really scary, but it was that was the strangest part for me. I was expecting some sort of like revelation, and it was more just like, yeah, this is what it is.
Right. Well, speaking of revelation, I mean, it was literally like plucked out of the Bible here, how he goes back to his dad and says, like, I don't know where else to turn.
He's like, I need you guys. I need some help. Yeah.
I need my family. And boom, like with open arms, welcomes him back in.
Prodigal son. There we go.
We are talking to Mike Sauter, not the prodigal son of this show.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
We're also talking to Matt Versal. May also think he's the prodigal son of the show, which that could be more true with DB and his relationship. But we'll talk to them later on in the 9:00 hour. Today, we're going to do something interesting as well. Yesterday, I was able to combine, I was able to get 3 interviews, and we're going to combine them into one segment here on the show today. I spoke to some golfers about their first round, about their overall personality, about what they do outside of golf. We'll touch on all of that around the 8:00 hour as well. We have Iowa State and Iowa gambling to get to once again, Northwestern. We also have the new basketball spot for Iowa women's basketball and much more. Stick around, more CNC after the break.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream on ESPN Radio. We are live on Twitter, live on YouTube, the Hurrdat Sports YouTube page. Happy to have you with us. You can get involved there. Cam will see your comments, read them off. It's Ravil Lulla on his last day this week. Well, no, that's not true.
I'm back Monday.
You're back Monday for me. Yeah. Which I appreciate. You'll switch spots. Although we won't be at the golf course.
No.
Or you and DB won't be at the golf course.
No, we won't. I'll probably sit in the same spot. He usually has me I'll sit in your spot. So
right.
It's hard to tell when we're at the golf course versus when we're at the Hail Varsity Club. It's like, where I remember on Monday, you're like, nope, that's my seat. I need to sit there.
Yeah, I do.
All right, man.
I do. It's just natural. Like if I sat there, I think I would be uncomfortable the entire show.
You know what's super funny about that? So I have this thing where it's probably like an OCD thing or something, but when I go into a restaurant, and it's not the same every time, but like when my wife and I are going out to eat, which we do a lot because neither of us, I mean, she's a professional cook, so she doesn't want to cook at home. I can't cook. So we go out to eat a lot. I have this thing where when I'm walking up to the table, I have this like innate sense of which side I'm supposed to sit on, but I don't know until I'm walking up to the table. And so she'll like, I finally had to, so we've been married for 4 years.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I finally told her like a week ago, I was like, listen, when we go to restaurants, can you just wait for me to sit down? Because I have this like crazy OCD thing. I can't tell you beforehand which spot it's going to be, but like I need to sit in a certain spot. I'm like Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, like, but it's not the same spot every time. I don't know what to tell you. It's just a weird thing. Can you please just wait? And she's like, yeah, that's fine.
What's your wife's name?
Natasha.
Natasha.
Right. Yeah. It's like I have no idea where it came from. I haven't been that way my whole life, I don't think. It's a somewhat recent phenomenon. But yeah, I walk up to like a table and I was like, I actually need to sit there. And it's not like I can't have my back towards the door or anything like that because it's just different.
So do you ever go to the bathroom first and come back and she's in the spot you're supposed to be sitting?
No, because she had no idea until recently. And I would just like hope that she picked right. And finally, I was like, can I just sit down first? And then you can sit wherever you.
Can I just sit down first and you can sit somewhere else? Really, it's cool. Like I'd rather sit here alone.
No.
Oh wait, that's not what you're saying.
No, it's just like I don't know what it is. It's such a weirdo thing, but I don't know. It's as you get older, you start to get weird. I don't know.
You know, I don't even know where this was going from the very beginning. We started talking about how you're going to be gone. I'm going to be gone on Monday, and DB's going to be back. And Ravi will stay and find a chair, I guess, whenever he shows up. Who knows? We'll also get into today. I when we went to break, I talked about a lot of things outside of the state that we will talk about. But one thing inside, and a question I've been asking for a long period of time is, what will this offense look like this year for Nebraska football?
Yeah.
What will Satterfield's offense look like? Well, Ravi took that to heart, and he said, I'll figure it out for you. He's been watching South Carolina game film from last year, so we'll get into that as well later on the show. I caught up a few games. I picked it out because I remembered watching the first half of South Carolina season and thinking, oh boy, and then the second half and thinking, okay, not too shabby, but I never really caught the turnaround. So we'll get into that later on in today's show. Before we do any of that, I want to go back on something that's just been circling the news for a long period of time, and that's Iowa and Iowa State.
Sure.
And how they're kind of under fire for gambling, and more names keep popping up on the list. So yesterday, 4 more Iowa State football players and 3 more members of the Iowa football program have been charged in the state's investigation into sports wagering, which alleges that several athletes placed bets on games in which they played.
Yes.
Okay, now we're getting into some really choppy waters.
Yeah.
We're in the Bermuda Triangle now. We're about to get lost.
So there's a couple things that they're in trouble for, because normally if they were just gambling, it would just be an NCAA violation. They'd only be in trouble for that. These guys are in actual legal trouble.
Yeah, they're facing charge of tampering records.
Yeah, so here's that's the important part here, I think, because I think that's what they're going to get them on, is because they knew they weren't supposed to be doing it, and so they tried to change the record of who was placing the bets and things like that to basically cover their paper trail, which is unbelievably stupid. Like, let's just start there. Really, really dumb.
You know, if you have to go way too deep, you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah, like if you have to go through a ton of work to hide the fact that you're doing something, you probably just shouldn't be doing that thing.
It's different in what we talked about in the opener with Johnny Manziel, because that was so off book that you couldn't track it.
And it's
mobile betting is so easily tracked, it's not even funny.
Also, there was absolutely nothing illegal about what Johnny Manziel was doing, aside from, I guess, underage drinking, because he was 20 at a lot of those parties.
Well, and breaking NCAA violations.
But it wasn't illegal, right? It was NCAA stuff, and stuff that is all NCAA approved now, by the way.
This is illegal.
There is nothing that Johnny Manziel did that today he could not do legally within the NCAA rules, because he could say, hey, it's NIL. I'm just signing autographs. We're good here. And he'd be totally fine. So that's the big difference, is these guys are in actual legal trouble because, like you mentioned, there's allegations that they were betting on games they actually participated in, which then you're into like game fixing and point shaving, and
we know how that's played out over the course of the years.
So you're in serious trouble for that stuff. And then I honestly think the records tampering is the thing they're going to get caught on.
Well, that's an aggravated misdemeanor.
Well, and that's the thing that is easiest to prove, right? Because it is a paper trail. The other stuff, if you can prove the paper trail, you can probably prove that they were betting in games that they were participating in. It's going to be really hard to prove that they were point shaving or anything like that. But the tampering of the records is going to be pretty easy to get them on.
And unfortunately, here's what the max sentence could look like for some of these guys. 2 years in prison.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's where it will end up, because
I'm imagining
there's a
plea
fine.
down. Yeah.
There's a fine that you can pay as low as $850, as high as I think $8,500.
Yeah.
You would guess that they'd have the ability to plead down and say, you won't do it again. It's your first offense, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But this is still a big deal. And one of the names on at least Iowa's list is Arland Bruce IV. Do you remember him being in the news, calling out Thomas Fedoni a little bit last year? And then he was the one that muffed a punt and set Nebraska up pretty well. And now he's in a
little bit of hot water.
And now he's in some hot water. He's joined Jack Johnson and Reggie Bracey. And then on the other side with Iowa State, starting running back Jarrell Brock is a member of this.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if any of these guys play college football ever again.
Yeah, OT, Jake Remsburg, DT, Isaiah Lee, and tight end Deshaun Hanicka.
Yeah.
Not the way you want to do it.
No.
And, okay, so here's what I want to know. I want to know, after these guys saw all of this stuff kind of start spiraling and spiraling at, like, let's just say they're on the highway. You're going about 70 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
I want to know what they were feeling on the inside. Like, oh, poop.
Yeah.
I'm about to get screwed. Because first, like, Hunter Deckers wouldn't have gotten caught, right? If I'm not going to get caught. But if Hunter Deckers can get caught, that means I can get caught too. Same thing at Iowa. With all of these other names that are popping up on the list, I think I'm going to take a guess.
Yeah.
Maybe throw a rock and see if I hit something that I'm going to get caught too.
Yeah, they're in a bad way right now. And I mean, frankly, they should be. This is really dumb. Like, this is pretty stupid activity. I feel a little bit bad for the guys that were like betting on the NBA finals or whatever, stuff that had nothing to do with any of their stuff. They were doing it under their own name because they obviously didn't know it was a problem. These guys obviously knew what they were doing was a problem. Otherwise, you don't try and cover up what you were doing. Right.
And they probably were even like getting deeper and deeper and deeper, trying to cover it up once they saw all these other names pop up on the list.
Absolutely. And so it's just a colossally dumb thing for them. Listen, and a lot of us did colossally dumb things in college. Like we said, we just saw the Johnny Manziel doc, but again, there's a big difference.
We also did things though that didn't
that aren't illegal,
require a paper trail to prove that I did something wrong,
and that aren't. It's like there's a difference between being stupid and doing criminal activity.
Right.
Like we're in a different.
I feel like this is the dumbest thing in the world.
This is funny too, because as I thought about this a little bit more last night, Iowa State and Iowa, they're the Northwestern of betting right now.
How so?
They're guaranteed. So guaranteed this is further happening elsewhere, right?
Sure.
They're just, the one that got caught.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Northwestern in the situation that they're facing right now. There's more football programs. There's more sports programs out there that experience similar things.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's just say it how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You're probably right. And you wonder how many other people, if any, will get caught.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big question.
We'll dive deeper into more conversations like this later on. When we come back, is Jess here? We'll sit down with Jess Brabeck. She's the tournament director over at the Pinnacle Bank Championship. We'll do that next on Coffee and Cream.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream on ESPN Radio, live from the Pinnacle Bank Championship over at the club at Indian Creek. We're happy to have you with us. Thanks for joining us this week, live from the golf course alongside Ravil Lulla, Andrew Rogers, joined again by Jess Brabeck, who I think we should now get like a T-shirt or a plaque for because she's been on the show, how many, like 3 or 4 times in the last month?
That would be great. I'm just, it'd be nice if I had some
are you a
swag.
third timer? Are you a fourth timer?
I don't know what day it is, Andrew, so I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you.
I feel like we need if you are a third timer, we need a third timers club.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Like although we have regular guests on and they'd be in like the 100 timers club, but like if we could have like a fancy name like Jess Brabeck on, somebody like a little more exclusive to an event, like boom.
It's like a punch card.
Yeah, get a T-shirt, right? Yeah, 5 punches, you get to punch Robbie, right?
I don't know about you. Didn't do anything here. Come on.
Jess, it's good to see you. How are things going after day one?
Good. It's great. We can't complain. I was just mentioning, you just have to go into it knowing Thursday is Thursday, and we're very lucky. We have a lot of partners that have worked with us before. They understand that. And you just have to realize people are excited. We kind of already had a full week of events and with the pro-ams and things leading up to Thursday morning. So realizing we're tired, and then, all of the new set of volunteers that are coming out Thursday, they're excited. They're ready to go. We have, the crowds were great yesterday, having our sponsors out here. So just really just enjoy it. But we're very happy. Yes.
Jess, I'm curious. You mentioned how kind of tiring this all can be. What's your caffeine consumption level at right now? Are you a coffee person? Are you an energy drink person? Where are you at right now?
I just started drinking coffee about 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay. That's dangerous.
Fantastic. Yes.
Iced or hot?
Yes. But I'm working on the ice. I started with the
hot.
I
can only do hot.
I can
only do hot.
I can only do iced.
Okay.
I hate hot beverages.
Oh, well, then that's a whole other thing.
You and DB. Yeah, no, I actually started drinking coffee recently too. My fiance got me, and she's so proud of it. She's like, finally, we can go to coffee shops together, and you're not ordering, the Red Bull mixed with tea or whatever it is. And I'm like, I don't love it still. I probably, if you give me a cup of coffee, I'll drink half.
Okay.
And it's only hot. I don't drink the iced.
Well, you'll get there.
I need bubbles.
Oh, I get
if it's on ice, I need bubbles.
I get that. I was a big chai tea latte person for a long time.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And then I realized I was having all the sugar crashes from that. So, coffee's better.
Yeah, you can't really have a sugar crash here with how long the days are.
Then it goes into more of the caffeine like you're talking.
Yeah, that's right.
I do know there was a time I looked at the intern how many is too many of this in a day? And she's like, I think 6. Like, okay, I'm at 4. So that's a good answer. Good answer.
Right. If you ask Robbie drinks soda all day. So,
I do. I usually try and
tell you 12.
I usually try and stick to 1 energy drink a day or 1 coffee a day.
Oh.
But the sodas, which I understand still have caffeine in them,
sure.
I just crush the sodas all day.
Now, Jess, okay, so when we talked to Mark Wisdom yesterday, he told us Hole 15 was kind of like his little area. Like if he could go somewhere, get away from the people.
Sure.
Alexis had hers too. I can't remember. It was on the back 9.
Mm-hmm.
It may have been 15 as well. What is it about 15? But is there a spot on the course for you that you're like, I need to get away? This is where I'm going.
Oh, sure. I didn't make it out there yesterday, so that's a good point. I should go do that. I kind of like over by 8. So if you go past our White Claw area, which is a fun little public concessions if you're out walking around, it's a par 3. It's just a nice little hole. It's got some shade. You can view a couple tee boxes.
Nice.
Yes.
Have you had the chance? I know it was a very popular topic earlier this week. Have you had a chance to try one of the boozy slushies yet?
No, I have not. I do know that the pineapple margaritas were very popular yesterday.
I think
from personal experience.
No, I didn't get any of that one yesterday.
I think you might need to treat yourself by the end of the tournament. I think you've earned it.
Jess, did you have a churro? Did you have one of the churros from the food truck?
I did not. My brother comes out and volunteers, and he's like standing there eating, and Alexis goes, "Oh, is that a churro?" And he's like, "Yeah."
It was unbelievable.
Really?
Oh, I was so infatuated by this churro when I first saw it pop out of the box. I'm like, it was the first thing I ate. And it was so good. Had a little caramel filling to it.
Oh, fancy.
We are so blessed.
We're a
by
little
you
spoiled.
guys.
We're a little spoiled out
by
here.
what you give to us for being here. So we appreciate the heck out of you guys. Now, okay, so I got here this morning. I went up to the driving range. I went up to the putting green. I got text from our producer Cam here, and he's like, "You coming to the show?" I'm like, "No." I like where I'm at.
Sure.
So I was up there watching the guys kind of get ready, and then I went over to hole 1, first tee box, saw him tee off, and I was just kind of like admiring the whole view. I mean, you had the Pinnacle Bank barrier, you had the sun rising, the mist kind of coming off the course, and so like the early mornings for me have always just been like my favorite time when I got to the course.
Same.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what about then mornings for you kind of just like get you feeling like, I'm just like happy right now.
I love it. If I have a chance to kind of drive the course as it's waking up, as people, right before people are starting to come out, like it's just fantastic. It's to see the course wake up. It's like you said, beautiful views, and just take a minute to kind of admire the work a little bit.
That is a great point because Jim does an awesome job maintaining this course.
He does.
And that gets overlooked because whenever you watch these golfers like go about their business, they're so good at what they do that it doesn't actually really showcase how challenging the course can be sometimes.
Right.
But when you watch them like do their thing too, you're like, oh, wow, that's such a great shot. Or like, oh, wow, way to put that like right next to the hole.
Yeah.
But you never really think about like, wow, how nice is that fairway to hit off of? Or like, oh man, the green speeds are just perfect for these guys today.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people that deserve credit for this event.
Well, and some of the Korn Ferry Tour golfers couple days ago were saying, now we're at a big boy golf course. Now they're excited not to have somebody shoot 30 under. They're ready to go. It's a competitive track that they really enjoy, and it's getting them ready for the playoff series that's coming up too. They go to New Jersey next week. That's at a new venue. I can never remember the name of it, but it's a really old golf course
in Jersey.
Yes, it's somewhere in Jersey. But then they have a really nice 4-week, playoff series, and then they'll be handing out 30 cards after. So those guys are appreciative of us helping them get ready for that next step that's coming up.
So as far as what's coming up today, what are you excited about? What do you have on the horizon?
Round two is
just ready to
awesome.
go?
Pairings are on the website. We have local guys, teeing off here. I think we're going to see a lot of more people skipping out of work. Historically, the crowd on Friday is twice as big as Thursday.
Okay.
So there might be a line for those boozy snowballs. The Coke products are loaded, ready to go. We have some adult beverages. We have stuff for the kiddos. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Now, so we talked about a place that you would go on the course. Talked about your favorite time whenever you get to the course. But what did you kind of notice yesterday about like the place to be on the course?
Oh, sure. Sometimes I'm very bad and I kind of get sucked into the operational side of it or trying to fix things and no one will notice, but I'll notice. That first tee box, like you were mentioning, that was great. People really seemed to be enjoying that. And I just noticed everyone was just kind of mingling and watching, down here at the Hurrdat Sports Pavilion was great. The Patron Zone, that public dining area.
And the $2 birdies that they do over there.
Yes.
People don't know about that yet because that place was dead for a little while. And I'm like, if I didn't have the all-inclusive ticket, I just had the grounds ticket and it can get me in over there.
Yes.
That's the place to be.
We talk about the Storm Chasers a lot on this show and what games to go to. And we're like, let's go to the $2 game because you get $2 beers, $2 hot dogs.
Cheap,
it's over here too when you get a birdie.
Exactly.
Like for 20 minutes, you get $2 beers.
And
this
they
is the
ring
place
the bell.
to be.
Yes, I was looking at some pictures from yesterday, and because I don't get to see a lot of what goes out until someone's like, oh, my husband shows up to volunteer and he goes, was there really fog rolling in with the bagpipes for the ceremonial tee shot? I'm like, yeah, like I'm not going to put a fog machine out here. Of course, like, yes,
we actually were running fog since 3 a.m.
Yes, right. It burned off as, so there's things like that. That part I always really enjoy. And I do like the range. I was looking at the range yesterday and that was just fun. It was a lot of fun.
Jess, that's awesome. We appreciate everything you've done for us and everything you do out here for the Pinnacle Bank Championship. And I wish you a very peaceful and
stress-free weekend.
No
wonderful.
Fires to
Thank
put
you.
out.
Thank
You guys have been great, though. We appreciate it.
You know what?
So
actually,
much.
before you go, you said putting out fires, and I'm just curious. What was the biggest fire you had to put out here for this event?
I'm not going to tell you what that is.
Come on, please.
Because if you didn't notice, she did her job right.
Yeah, exactly. I would say it kind of depends on the situation and it depends on where you're at. So, for example, I was joking I was unlocking the fancy porta potties today. Well, if you don't get waylaid and you get it done before people get down there, you're fine. But if you get stuck behind golfers or, I get distracted by whatever and I don't have it open, well, then that's a problem. So it's just some of those little things. We try, our staff is phenomenal and the interns, and they work really hard last night to make sure that all the places were stocked, that we have all the amenities set and ready to go. They're making sure we move some of the chairs away because you want them to get hit by the sprinklers, and our volunteers are out to wipe off your seats. So I would say it's just trying to help support everyone and make sure we're going.
Jess, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. It's always good to see you guys. Three punches this week.
3 punches.
All right.
Punch cards. Yep.
And when you get 2 more, the next one's free.
Oh, all right. There we go.
That's Jess Braybeck. She's the tournament director over at the Pinnacle Bank Championship. When we come back, we will get back into conversations about the Pinnacle Bank Championship with the golfers that we spoke to yesterday. Pearson Cootie is a name on that list. David Skins is a 2-time champ. And Wilson Furr, who I think Ravi will find a strong attachment to because of his personality.
All right.
He's got a really strong personality, and I put out a hypothetical for him mid-interview.
Nice.
And we can definitely talk about that afterward because I'm sure you know at least one person that's done exactly what I am talking to him about.
All right.
So we'll do that when we come back. More CNC after the break.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes.
Sounds like it's all on you for 8 o'clock.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back
Mr.
in
Leon
30
Hess,
seconds.
a true fan of the game. We were all his boys. He treated us like he treated our football team like Once I asked my defensive line coach, Dan Sikanovich, the guy I really looked up to,
Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Bring out the blower because we are about to blow this thing up. It's Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. It's Ravil Lulla, Andrew Rogers, live out at the Pinnacle Bank Championship over at the club at Indian Creek. You hear the sights and sounds behind us. The maintenance crew blowing off the grandstands. They're blowing off the greens. They're making things look pretty. We appreciate their due diligence to help smooth out things for the golfers out here. And, you know, we heard a lot about course conditions yesterday when talking to a lot of these players. Pearson Cootie was one of them, and he's a third generation guy, a product of Texas. He's here with his twin. His grandpa was the 71 Masters champion, so he's got golf running through his blood. But he also had a pretty decent round. He shot 4 under yesterday, and let's just say outside of his own personal game, where he could have maybe putted one in or two to save birdie and ended up with par, he really liked the course conditions. We'll go into some of those interviews now. Shane, let's pot up Pearson. You've played this course before. Any of the holes different, playing different for you today?
Yeah, it's really different. Last year was extremely firm, probably the firmest golf course we'd played all year. So to see that the rough is, really green, really thick, ball's a little bit more receptive today. Scoring's a little different than it was last year, but just, trying to play good golf, hit fairways, hit greens, and hopefully make a few putts.
One away from that auto bid. If you get that third win, you're automatically getting your tour card, although it's pretty much locked in at this point. So you just kind of have to wait for that day to come. And it's a day that you've been waiting for your whole life. What does it mean to you to kind of just be on the brink of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I would have taken any way, any shape or form of getting my tour card, but the fact that I'm in a position to kind of jumpstart the process is awesome. And I'm playing good golf. I had a good run last week in Utah. Didn't quite get to the finish line. So another good start this week, and hopefully just kind of keep stacking good rounds.
A third generation golfer. Your dad was a pro. Your grandfather, of course, won the 71 Masters. I'm sure you never heard that before, or never been around a story or two for that. But you also get to play with your twin brother, which is really cool. I mean, it's just not a lot of people get to do that. As you kind of go about your journey, is it hard for you to ever get out of the shadow of being a Cootie, like the last name Cootie? Are you trying to pave your own path in any way?
I mean, yeah, I'm obviously trying to, get to the PGA Tour, win on the tour, and kind of create my own legacy. But it's something that I don't shy away from. Having a granddad that had such a successful career, winning a major, playing great on the Champions Tour, and all that. So it's something I definitely don't shy away from because he's an extremely successful golfer, and I would want nothing more to emulate his career as a pro. So, I want to create my own way and win as well. But no, it's really cool to have his, name and legacy kind of surrounding mine.
Is that where your winning mentality comes from? Just being a part of a golf family?
I don't know. My dad's always told me, let's make it a priority to win at every level. And it's a little bit cliche, but when you get it towards the top of the leaderboard, especially when you're playing for money and stuff like I am now, it can be easy to kind of, I guess, take the foot off the gas and everything. But, the great players don't do that. They go the other way and they play great when they need to. And so I'm just trying to have that mentality.
How much of a motivating factor was it to experience what you did last year? You got so close, but you had to withdraw from the finals because of an injury. How much did that motivate you this season?
I was extremely close last year. I think I finished 32nd or so on the points list, and then had to have surgery on my hand in the fall. So I had a really kind of boring fall other than just sitting on my couch until January, and then started practicing in December, and then the season started in January. So I really, at the beginning of the season, just was hoping to kind of play well. I was still dealing with a lot of, post-surgery issues, and luckily to rattle off a win and kind of kickstart my year. So, yeah, it's extremely motivating, especially when you're sitting there on your couch and watching everyone else play good golf.
Well, speaking of good golf, the Cootie brothers are playing good golf right now. You, of course, top 5 in the rankings. Your brother, I think, around 24 right now. I mean, just for one, what's it like to be right there with him on the course all the time, every day? And two, I want you to kind of think back to when you guys were kids. Like, what were the internal battles like as you guys were, competing to be number one?
Yeah, this would definitely seem fake if you had told us, at any age truly up until this point. We're 23, first year out of college. So if you had said both of us would be on the Corn Ferry contending to get our PGA Tour cards at, 23, first full year out of school, we'd kind of be like, sign me up, and I really don't care what else comes with that. So this certainly is the dream, and I'm hoping that he continues to play well this last 5 or 6 events, and we can both do on the PGA Tour next year.
We had Kevin Price on the show yesterday, and when I asked him to describe your game, he said wildly productive and sometimes inconsistent. Would you agree?
Yeah, I certainly would. I certainly would because, like I said, I had a hand surgery. I broke my arm the year before, so the last year and a half, I've spent about 7 months of it on my couch. So I feel like I'm still building towards my best golf, and hopefully have a healthy offseason and can really hit the ground running on the PGA Tour.
Last one for you. How'd you retool your game during those dark times and, kind of just get back to where you wanted to be?
It's hard. It kind of changed my game. It allowed me to become a better putter, better chipper, just because I went such extreme periods of not being able to hit golf balls. So it's really, I always consider myself a great ball striker, and it kind of, I guess, checked me a little bit that my ball striking is going to take some time to build up. You're playing with 70%, 80%, and you're slowly building, ball striking, changing. So it really made me just kind of hone in on my short game, and it's been a huge factor to me playing better as a pro this year.
Thanks so much for the time. Good luck the rest of the way, Pearson.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That was Pearson Cootie. And Ravi, before we move on to the next two, just final thoughts from that. I want to say this, and I'm going to say it early. He's going to be somebody that wins a lot on the tour. He won a lot. He was atop the PGAU rankings last year. He should have had a great. Well, I don't want to say he should have gotten his PGA card because who knows? He was like 1 or 2, maybe 3 spots away. Mm-hmm. But if he would have stayed healthy and didn't have that hand injury, I bet he would have gotten his PGA card. So I think it's fair to say that the chance of him doing that was above 80% last season. Mm-hmm. This season, he will absolutely get his card. Like I said, I mean, he's 4th on the list in the points rankings. He can't go outside the top 30 at this point. Even if he does get the auto bid, it shouldn't matter. But when I bet on golf later down the road, this is somebody I'm going to bet on because he's a winner.
Yeah, well, he's a winner, and he's got kind of the, as you talked about with him, the family legacy of being winners, and just the golf is in his DNA. It is something that, I'm sure his family would have been okay if he didn't become a golfer, but it was kind of something he was born to do almost. And so a lot of the times, those are the guys you like to bet on. You like to bet on the guys with pedigree, regardless of what sport it is, mm-hmm. right? We're seeing this entire wave of, in Major League Baseball, tons of ex-players' kids, and in basketball, ex-players' kids, and they kind of just know how to operate. There's a professionalism there because they watched it growing up. They know how to operate, and they know how to win because of that.
The other thing too, which I think is really cool and a cool moment for the Cootie brothers, they were dressed in up and down in Masters caddy gear at one point in like the early 2000s. I think it was 2005. I don't know if their grandfather was still playing then. I would guess it was when their dad was playing, but it's just like a cool memory to like look at that photo and then look at them today. Yeah. Because Parker is also on the brink of getting his card. I think he's like 24th on the list. Now he's got more work cut out for him than Pearson does.
Yeah, a little work to do.
You could see both of these guys on the tour next year, and it's just cool to see the evolution from a once, 5-6-year-old kid watching their dad and grandfather do it to now seeing their dad and grandfather behind the ropes while they get to do it. I just think that's just such a cool page flip. Talking to David Skins next. He's the 2-time champion here at the Pinnacle Bank Championship. And, he really honed in on his family in this interview. As you kind of went about your business today, what did you notice that was different on this course here in 2023 than it was in 2018 and 2021 when you won?
They got a little rain. July's been really wet. I've heard that from everyone. So it's a little softer, but it's, you get 3 or 4 days of no rain here and it's going to firm up pretty quick. So they got it right where they want it. It's just a little softer than I was used to in 2021, where it's really firm. So yeah, it's getting right where they want it, though. They'll get these greens firm this weekend.
I talked to numerous people throughout the morning, and I was asking them, who's your choice at winning the event this year? And they all said your name, probably because history backs that up, right? Choice, so what about that in the fan experience from a player's perspective? Like, how much do you enjoy them and their ability to buy into what you guys are doing here, and also to pick you out of a group of I don't even know how many total guys. Yeah, 150 guys out, 156 guys out here.
Oh yeah, that's kind of makes doing what we do worthwhile almost, just to have people root for you that you've probably never met before. It's it gives a whole lot of worth to what we do. It's entertainment business at the end of the day. So if what I do, someone finds entertaining and wants to root for me, that's job done for me. That's top of the tree. And I've been back here a lot, so I'm kind of the easy choice. But you still got to put 4 rounds together, and it's a place I'm comfortable, and hopefully this weekend Omaha's rooting for me.
The grind never stops for you either. I mean, let me just take you back to the moment and it was this year when you won the Club Card Championship, and it was such a heartfelt moment. I mean, I was smiling from ear to ear when I saw you bury the putt and your family runs out onto the green. I mean, you're hugging your kids, your wife's out there too. I mean, just an emotional, heartfelt family moment. Is that one of the best moments that you've shared on a golf course this year?
Yeah, no question. It's one of the best moments I've had in my life playing golf. I mean, it's stuff you dream about. My wife and I had watched that happen to a lot of guys on TV. And, she's always said, it would be really cool to have that moment. And, to get that happen, with the 1 week they get to come out each year, because she works full time. She works really hard. So it's not something we get to experience a lot, is having the kids out here and her out here. So to have that happen when they were there was, dream come true stuff. And you couldn't write the script. It was amazing. I
mean, absolutely special. And I could just tell just the dynamic that you guys have as a family away from golf. I mean, how much have they impacted you throughout your up and down journey of this sport?
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think there's not anyone that journey's linear. Like, there's ups and downs, and it's, you've got to roll with it. And, having the family there, it keeps me grounded. Kristen does a really good job keeping me grounded. What's really important, it doesn't really matter if I have a bad day on the golf course or a great day on the golf course. At the end of the day, the kids still need me to be dad. So, she's worked very hard for a lot of years now, having a full-time job, taking care of the kids. So it's a balancing act. And, she's just a rock star at home.
Now, with your performance today, do you feel like it sets yourself up pretty good going into the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it's how I've started the last couple of times that I've had success here. Haven't lit it on fire on Thursday, but played a solid round. It was solid today. I had a couple of drives I'd like back and an iron shot I'd like back. But it was decent. As the course firms up, hopefully I can start to take advantage a little.
So you mentioned some of those shots. What clubs were working for you today?
A little bit of everything. I drove it pretty decent to start out. Hit a few, relatively close, and then rolled a couple of putts in. So it was a little bit of everything. And towards the end, I hit a couple of squirrely ones, which I wasn't happy with. But, that's going to happen over the course of 4 rounds. So I'll go work on it and tighten it up over the weekend. And that's when you can really make a move.
Well, David, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much. Good luck going into the weekend. And really what he's saying to every other golfer out there is watch out, because if your start today matches anything like we saw in 18 and 21, you're in pretty good shape. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The 2-time winner, David Skins, loves the course, even though certain holes play differently nowadays. I just know this from personal experience. Ravi, you know it being an athlete from personal experience. You just know where you play well, whether it's a gym, whether it's a field, whether it's a course. Whenever you just step foot back on the course, you're just like, yeah, I know I'm going to play well here.
Yeah, it's almost, we were talking about that ridiculous thing of like where I like to sit in a restaurant. But like there's certain places when you're an athlete where you walk into and you feel that sense of comfort and that sense of almost like peace and tranquility where you're in a really good headspace to perform. Obviously, this is one of those places for David Skins.
Wilson Furr up next, the last interview that we'll share from day one. He's a big personality. We talked a little Happy Gilmore, and we also talked a fun hypothetical. After that bogey on 3, I mean, you really just started to rally an absolutely stunning performance. I think it was 9 birdies. Did you end with 10? What'd you do on that last hole there?
I parred the last.
Okay, so 9 birdies.
9. Yeah,
9 birdies is incredible. I know you mixed in a couple of bogeys there, but 7 under is a pretty dang good performance here at the Pinnacle Bank Championship. How do you avoid getting fragile or like in your own head when you're out there on the course so that you can recover smoothly?
Yeah, it's definitely the hardest part of the game, and I think it's what everybody works on out here, and I especially have. And I got a little rattled on 3. I thought I hit a good shot, and it was ended up in a dead spot, but felt like we did a good job of staying, focused and really getting after it going forward.
Now, in Happy Gilmore, of course, we learned that even if you are feeling a little stressed out there, you go to your happy place, right? So what does Wilson Furr's happy place look like upstairs if something isn't going right?
Just my caddy making fun of me or something like that. Yeah, I mean, just staring at the trees, anything other than golf. I try to do between the shots, and then when I do hit shots, really focus in and then release is kind of the way I think of it.
And I can already tell this, but I've been told you're one of the bigger personalities on the course. I don't know if people or other golfers that you play with share those same ideas, but kind of what makes Wilson Furr Wilson Furr?
It's a great question. I don't know. I just like to be myself. I like to have fun with it. And sometimes I get a little upset. I ride a little hot, but, working on that part. But, I like to have fun out there, and that's the way I do it. And I think when I kind of catch fire, I like to just keep it rolling like that. So it's fun.
Now, Wilson, I don't know if you have buddies back home that you go play with that aren't, golfers like yourself.
Yeah.
They're more like average, probably like me in a case. So I'm going to paint a hypothetical for you, and I want you to tell me how you'd handle the situation. Okay. So you strike a ball, par 4. Okay. You hit it about 300 yards. Your buddy hits it straight into the woods. Okay. All of a sudden, you guys are both searching for his ball, can't find it. So you go back, play your ball. You put it like 2 or 3 feet from the pin. Now, out of nowhere, you just hear a chunk in the forest, and there goes his ball. It lands even closer to the hole than yours. So you go meet up with him, and you know that he's cheating because you put his ball in your pocket after you found it in the woods. Do you tell him?
It sounds in this situation I was going to beat him by 40, so I didn't really care.
Very impressive. Okay, so as you go into the weekend now, as you look forward to the rest of the tournament here at the Pinnacle Bank Championship, up, at 7 under, you have to be feeling pretty confident in your own abilities to win this thing.
Absolutely. I feel like my game's been trending well for the last couple of weeks. And like I said, I feel like we've really put some pieces together. And so I feel really excited going for the rest of the week. And I was telling him I really love this golf course. So that's always a plus.
And you're on the outside looking in. So being at 47 right now, a win here or even a strong finish could really push you into that top 30 or get you close.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the name of the game. You're just trying to finish the best you can every day and see where it ends up at the end. But definitely a high finish. It rewards it for sure. So that's what we're looking for.
Wilson, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Enjoy the weekend.
I appreciate you. Will do.
So, Ravi, who do you know that would be a big cheater?
Well, so it depends on – so you gave a hypothetical there. It depends on whether they told you or not that they couldn't find their ball.
No. If you play it out of the woods, you said you found your ball. If you couldn't find your ball, you're either going back to re-tee or you're playing a drop in the rough.
So, I don't golf a ton anymore, but in my 20s, I golfed a lot. And what I would do is if I got a ball into a bad spot and I couldn't find it, I would drop the ball closest to where I thought it was. But then I would tell whoever I was with, hey, I'm taking a penalty, couldn't find my ball. I just dropped it where I thought it was.
Right. You thought, though, like I couldn't find the ball, so you dropped it in the course. You didn't play it out of the sticks.
No, I would play it from wherever I thought it landed.
No way.
Yeah.
You're a club ruiner?
Well, listen, I'm trying.
Dude, we're not pros. We don't have to do that. You move it to the course. You take your drop. There's probably a zone somewhere you can drop to.
I'm trying to hit the shot that I thought I was going to have to hit.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Man, I want to play with you, and I hope we play for money, because if you're playing that way, this is easy. I wouldn't even charge you a drop if you had to drop a ball where you thought it went.
No,
you're hitting 4 trees, and you're still trying to get out of the woods.
Listen, it doesn't do me any good. Like when I was golfing a lot, if it doesn't do me any good
to play out of the woods. Yes,
it doesn't do me any good to play out of a spot that I didn't hit it to in the first place.
Robbie. It doesn't do you any good to ruin your $600 clubs.
Well, listen, you gotta do whatever you gotta do. They're
You're
clubs,
wild. They're clubs. No, they're gold. Whenever we buy these things.
I didn't play with gold clubs. I played with regular metal clubs.
I definitely know at least 1 or 2 people that would cheat.
No, I'm trying to think.
Gold. Absolute gold.
Most of the people I was golfing with, I don't think would cheat. They may do a drop or something and be like, hey, I couldn't find my ball, but I don't.
Nope. I know so many people that shave strokes. I know people that go out and play and tell me that they shoot like their best score ever. I know somebody that told me the other day that he shot a 79. I'm like, sweet. So let's go out and play again, because I'd love to play with you. And he shot like in the high 90s or in the hundreds. I'm like, you didn't shoot a 79, because to shoot a 79, if you had a bad day, you're probably shooting in the low 90s, maybe 90. The high 80s.
Yeah.
But you're not shooting in the hundreds.
You're pretty regularly probably in the mid 80s.
Yeah, you're just not having a blow up day. This isn't just like, hey, I had an awesome day and now I'm blowing up. My awesome day, the best day I ever had was on 9. I shot a 9 or a 37 on par 36.
Yeah,
I had an eagle and I had 2 birdies, but it was only 9 holes.
Yeah,
it was an easy 9-hole course, not a lot of hazards, so I was able to have a decent day as a decent golfer.
Yeah.
If I would have done that 9 again, I guarantee I wouldn't have shot a 37. I probably would have shot like a 44.
Sure.
So if I shot a 37 and a 44, what's that equal? 81.
Yeah.
That's a great day on
Terrific
18
day.
holes.
Terrific
Great day. But I shoot on average in the low 90s.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You can have that one good day. You're not shooting 18 holes at 79.
No, not if you're a regular mid to high 90s golfer. No.
Cheater. He cheated. Shaving strokes.
I don't hang out with those people. I don't know. You need to find some new golf buddies.
Well, speaking of, a little bit of rivalry between one person and another, I saw on Twitter yesterday some Nebraska fans were getting a little up in arms about Iowa talking about playing a women's basketball game over at Kinnick Stadium. And I first want to start with this. Nobody's idea is ever new anymore. Like, you don't really have a new idea. It's something that, like, you can enhance an idea or you can just recycle an idea.
Yeah.
But there's not really a new idea unless you're coming up with like this new product and you're an entrepreneur. If there's a new sport idea, it's probably been done before.
Sure.
Did they see how successful Nebraska women's volleyball was in this effort? Of course they did.
Sure.
Because
everybody did.
They knew that Nebraska was itching to get more bodies in the seats. They've been struggling to get more season ticket holders because the line is so long and they don't have the space, right? So they were able to do that. Same thing with women's basketball after last year. Look.
With Iowa, yeah.
Iowa women's basketball last year. The national championship game drew 9.9 million viewers. That's the most viewed NCAA women's basketball final in television history. Why? Because Caitlin Clark was playing.
Yep.
And people flocked to Caitlin last year after she was kind of doing everything solo, right? She's putting up 40-point wins. She shoots the ball from half court. Reminds you a little bit of Steph Curry, Jimmer Fredette. She's making those flashy point guard plays. You like that. You're attracted to that. Well, that's why Iowa can manage to do this, because they have a lot of people out there that want to see her in action.
Absolutely.
And they can't, because season tickets are probably just like they are for Nebraska women's volleyball.
Yeah.
You don't have a spot in the venue.
You don't have enough. There's not enough spots.
So, all that being said, I do think it's kind of weird that a basketball game's played outside. It reminds me of a street ball game. But you know what? Every time I try to knock it, though, something always gives me a reason not to. Like the proceeds of this exhibition going to the University of Iowa Steed Family Children's Hospital. They can do the wave to the children in the venue too. I mean, I think it's pretty cool at the end of the day. All right. You want to talk about Satterfield's offense?
Sure.
Let's do that next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
All right, welcome back. We appreciate all of you joining in the conversation. Cam on the other end has some comments to read to us before we get into our Satterfield chatter. Cam, what do we have?
Yeah, I got a couple. One, when you were talking to those golfers last segment, I got a comment from Kenny Hughes. Wondered how these golfers are at bowling, how good they are.
They're probably really good because athletes are always good at something else.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like Mookie Betts, for example,
Really good bowler.
really good bowler.
He's a really good basketball player, too.
Right. Well, so he's just uber athletic.
Yeah.
But football players are kind of like carry over to golf really well. I don't know if that's because they have a lot of time in the offseason. I don't know if you're like
Interesting.
Mahomes because you build, a par 3 in your backyard in your new $1 million mansion, whatever it is. But it seems like football players are always good golfers. Would a golfer be good at bowling though? Is this like a literal question, or does Ken have like a statement to follow it up?
That was just it. I wonder how good these golfers are at bowling.
There's probably some. I mean, there's some
But bowling is such like a different sport to this.
Yeah, you'd have to get some reps in for sure. There's probably some like hand-eye coordination carryover, but you definitely have to get the reps
I'm sure
in
they're
still.
really good at something else, and it could be bowling.
Yeah.
But it may not be like I
don't think it's a direct
universal correlation.
I don't think it's a direct crossover there.
Right.
I wonder
Okay.
how many can slam dunk a basketball.
A basketball?
A basketball.
I don't know. I don't know if they play basketball, but
I bet more now could than like 20 years ago. It's a more athletic sport.
yeah, well, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday with Brett Ballack about how strong these guys are and how instead of it's feeling like they're swimming in their polos, they're almost like coming out of their polos because of how tight they are. But they're just ripped. They're just jacked. They go to the weight room and they spend a lot of time there so they can drive further. I don't know if they walk a boatload. So, they're doing leg exercises as well.
Yeah.
They probably could dunk if you get a guy with good size, but a lot of guys look like me. I'm 5'11". I'm 6 foot.
Yeah.
Like if you could really jump that, Pearson Cootie, David Skins, and Wilson Furr were all my height yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really get a lot of tall golfers.
No, not a lot of like 6'4", 6'5".
So
guys.
I would actually, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take it back and say they can't dunk.
Most of them probably cannot. Yeah, no. And it's a different type of athleticism in basketball versus golf. It's more about like body control and things like that. Obviously there is an explosive element to the swing.
Right.
But it's a different type of movement. So I wouldn't say most. There's probably some that can, that are good general athletes.
Yeah,
but
if you grabbed DeChambeau and said, could you hit a home run? He probably could, right?
That
If
might
you
be your
grab Brooks
best-
Koepka,
yeah.
he could probably hit a home run.
Yeah.
I mean, I would even say you could grab a guy that had arms that looked like mine that were pencil thin, and they could probably hit a home run because of their swing speed.
Yeah, swing speed, hand-eye coordination, like making clean contact on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably your best crossover there. Basketball, it's really probably dependent on, if you get a guy that's like 6'3" instead of 5'11",
right,
he probably can do it, which is just a height thing.
Right. Cam, what else?
Also, if you're out there today, go ahead and ask those golfers if they can dunk and or bowl.
Will do.
I think that'd be all right. Another comment from Travis. He says he's with you. This is about the Iowa basketball, women's basketball. Says that Iowa just needs to announce their Der Wiener Schlinger and then announce the women basketball in the football stadium. A little too much of a coincidence.
Yeah, they were like days apart from one another, so I get that. But also the hot dog gun isn't anything new. They do that all over the place.
Yeah, it's been around for literal decades.
Right.
Like
There is direct correlation to the volleyball match and the women's basketball game. Like that one, it happened in the same year.
Well,
like it makes sense why I'm understanding why people are a little bit like, okay, Iowa,
it probably
we get it. You want to be us.
It probably provided some proof of concept to them because, it's maybe an idea they kicked around before, but like, I don't know what kind of appetite there will be for something like that. And the Nebraska volleyball thing just showed, hey, yeah, this is something that people care about and will come out for. That's not like, who cares? That's not a big deal. Like if Iowa
they're raising money for charity. You can't be mad at that.
If Iowa can sell out Kinnick for a women's bath, even if they weren't doing it for charity, even if they were just doing it to, like Nebraska's doing it to set a record. They want to set the volleyball attendance record so high that Wisconsin can't touch it. That's basically why they're doing it, right? So, and like that's a good enough reason for me. I don't care. Like if they can sell it, why does it matter to me? What's the difference? They play basketball games on aircraft carriers. Like, why do we care if they're playing in a football stadium?
And the Winter Classic is always outside for the NHL.
Yeah.
So
it's just a
outdoor
cool
sporting
thing.
events happen all the time.
Who cares?
Cam, anything?
Good. Yeah, Ken chat back with a couple more. Basically, his golf score is the same as his bowling score. They're both pretty bad. That's his follow up to the question.
No, his golf score is the same as his bowling score. Every hole takes him two tries, right?
Or by the time he hits 18, his golf score is equal
300.
to his bowling score. Yeah.
Somewhere in the hundreds for both, I think.
All right, Ken, I appreciate the comments. We wanted to get into this conversation too, and we'll start it now and we'll extend it into the last segment of the hour. And, it kind of made me laugh yesterday when Ravi goes, hey, tomorrow, like, what about like talking about Satterfield's offense? And I'm like, Satterfield's offense, like, what is there to know? He's like, well, I've been in the film room. I've been in Ravi's film room. I have some Ravi reaction to give you. And I'm like, oh, really? So let's do that now, because the question that I've been setting forth from the very beginning, from the first time.
Why you wanted to have a beer with Satterfield. You want to know about the offense.
Because I want to know about the offense. What will Satterfield's offense look like at Nebraska? And now you can carry over what he's done at previous stops, but I really want to know what it's going to look like here, because they talk about implementing the fullback.
Yeah.
They talk about having 2 tight ends. They talk about being big up front. And I want to know, does that directly carry into a running offense, or will we see mix-ups? So you had mentioned, like, well, let's go back and look at South Carolina, because you could take Spencer Rattler and you could take Jeff Sims and say they probably have fairly similar skill sets. They both can move, and they both can roll out of the pocket, and they have a big arm, right? And they also have inconsistency when they throw the ball downfield. So there are correlations there between the two guys. But when you were kind of going through the film room, take me through what you were seeing on how, if you can answer the question, maybe you can't.
But I mean, I've got some ideas, right? I've got some themes that I think we're going to see. Part of it's going to be personnel based, right? Some of it is going to be they're going to try and craft the offense around the players they have. So that's everything I say is with that caveat, right? I want to start with the quarterbacks, right? So I think you're right. There is some overlap between Rattler and Jeff Sims. The biggest correlation is they are 2 supremely talented guys that have had trouble staying consistent. Rattler probably has more natural arm talent. Jeff Sims is probably more athletic naturally.
And they're both on different teams where they once were.
Than where they started. Both pretty highly touted recruits. Rattler higher than Jeff Sims, but Jeff Sims was a very highly touted recruit as well. So there are some similarities there for sure. One of my biggest takeaways is how maddeningly inconsistent Spencer Rattler was, which has nothing to do with Nebraska. It's just watching those games, I was just like, holy cow, this is tough at times.
Credit to him, though. He got better later on in the season.
He did. And I think part of that was the way Marcus Satterfield got comfortable in terms of calling plays for him and figuring out places to put him in position to succeed. So one thing that we're definitely going to see next year that I'm 100% confident in is not just the QB run game. That's going to be a big part of what they do. I also think we're going to have someone else taking snaps as part of that QB run game, because that was a thing that he did a ton last year at South Carolina. Is they had a player who had played some quarterback for him the year before when they went through like 4 quarterbacks, including a grad assistant, and before Rattler got there. His last name is Joyner. His first name is escaping me right now. It's long and I couldn't really pronounce it. But Joyner took a ton of snaps at quarterback as part of the QB run game. But because he also had played quarterback, he still presented more of a throwing threat than a natural wildcat position did. So I would not be shocked at all if there is a like Heinrich Harburg package, or if there's like a receiver or a running back who has some quarterback history in high school or stuff like that. I think we're going to see a lot of run game, not only from Jeff Sims, but also from a secondary player who will be kind of the primary run option out of that quarterback spot. Because I don't know how many called runs they're going to do for Sims, because the backup situation maybe isn't as clear as they'd like it to be.
So are you saying it's going to be Harburg, or are you going to say it's going to be like a receiver or a running back that has high school quarterback experience?
I would bet on Harburg. I think they like him in that role. I think he's way more athletic than people realized, and he's got enough of a passing threat that if you want to turn it into a passing situation once or twice a game, he's going to be more comfortable doing that than a player who hasn't played the position since high school. So I would expect to see a Heinrich Harburg QB run package to be reasonably prominently featured during the season. He ran that a ton when South Carolina upset Tennessee. He did a ton of Joyner quarterback run package
late in the season.
So that is what, I mean, that's like their signature win, right? Because they beat the doors off of Tennessee, especially in the second half. And a ton of it was that Joyner.
And they lost Hendon Hooker.
Package. They did, yes. So that was obviously part of it, but they were putting it on him in the first half too, in terms of scoring. Just the defense was able to catch up more once Hooker wasn't hurt at all.
Hold those thoughts. Let's go to a break. We'll come back with more of those next on Coffee and Cream.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes.
Hey, Shano, can you feed us more of the music bed, the ramp out? It's a little low on our end.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
All right, before we get back into it and dive a little deeper into Marcus Satterfield's potential offense, I want to tell you about In the Deed the Glory Memorial Stadium, produced by Nebraska Public Media. From the original 1923 stands to today's 90,000 fan venue, this doc reveals the storied history, evolution, and significance of the stadium that is synonymous with Saturdays in Nebraska. Featuring interviews with T.O., Eric Crouch, Trev Alberts, Mike Babcock, DB is the narrator. Memorial Stadium only cost $450,000 to build. It was all financed by pledges made by university students, staff, alumni, and boosters way back in the day.
Nice.
Now, well, I'm sure we'll find out in this documentary how much Memorial Stadium is worth today.
Well, and how much money they've put into it with renovations and everything.
Sunday, August 13th, 7 p.m. Central Time on Nebraska Public Media and Facebook Live. Check out In the Deed, the Glory, Memorial Stadium. Back into these thoughts on what we'll see at Memorial Stadium this year from an offensive point of view. As I get told to lower my voice, putts are coming in. The first group just gets closer. I feel like I'm like on River Monsters right now when you're trying to attack like the big, like I'm out in the Serengeti. I'll fish on. Who's our fish on right now, Robbie, in regards to Marcus Satterfield? Who are we latching on to?
Yeah, so I think the next point that I'm taking away from it is...
This is so funny how we just lower our voice.
Right? I'm like very self-conscious about it now. One of the things that I am really latching on to in terms of some themes that I saw from Satterfield's offense is guys that are versatile. They had a tight end last year.
Yeah, a lot of razzle-dazzle plays.
A lot of like misdirection and stuff like that. But also they had this guy in his last name is Bell that he played both.
What's his first name? Dude, just because they have a name longer than 4 letters doesn't mean you can knock them for having a longer first name.
No, it's not even that. I wasn't even paying attention to his first name, to be honest. I want to say Jaquim Bell, but I might just be making that up. I might be conflating like 3 different.
Just don't say Heath.
Yeah, definitely not Heath. No blown saves in Memorial Stadium this year. But no, it was Bell, and he's a tight end by trade, but they would run him out of the backfield too. He would like an actual running back, not even as a fullback. Because sometimes you kind of see that H-back position, they'll go tight end, fullback, that type of thing. This guy was literally taking handoffs from the running back position. So that's the kind of place I'm curious to see who fills kind of one of those versatile roles. Because Satterfield, between Joyner, who was playing wide receiver and quarterback and doing some other stuff, as the kind of the QB wildcat run option, and then Bell, who was playing and lining up at tight end, lining up in the backfield. I'm curious who Nebraska has that maybe fits one of those versatile roles like that, because I think it creates, and we see this with the 49ers too a lot, where because they can line so many different playmakers up at so many different positions, it allows them to be really versatile and really confusing on offense, running the same plays for the most part. They run a handful of plays and they all look different because of the way you line things up. So I don't know if we'll see that this year from Nebraska, because as I look at their roster, I'm not totally sure who on the offensive side of the ball would fill that void, but maybe it's somebody that comes out of the woodwork and we don't even think about right now. But that's a big theme, is he really likes versatile playmakers. And then I think we're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets. If Borkacher and Fedoni are both healthy, or if Gilbert gets his waiver, we're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets, because A, he likes it to help stay in and protect the quarterback so he can take shots downfield. And B, he can do a lot of things, especially with a guy like Gilbert or Fedoni, these super athletic tight ends. You can do a lot of things with those guys, whether it's get them the ball in short situations and let them go run for it, whether it's to extend the field down the middle with those types of guys. That's something I expect to see a lot out of Satterfield and Nebraska's offense this year, especially since we're not totally sure about the wide receiver room. I think that's even going to be more emphasized than it was in South Carolina.
Well, so I didn't dive too deep, or as deep as you, into the film that like going like game by game by game, but I did want to pinpoint a few things that I did notice. The first one after saying we weren't ready. nobody got to see, or nobody got us ready to see what we were about to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, you're taking a shot at your OC right now,
Mm-hmm.
for one. But as much as coach is to blame, the line looked lifeless up front in that game. And players have to be accountable too. And that's the difference, the sheer difference in culture from South Carolina to Nebraska. It's the culture is all based on accountability.
Mm-hmm.
You will not hear that said once this year.
No.
That, oh, they didn't get us ready to go. Like this person, you're not going to have a player do that, because you know who's going to shut that down right away is the man up top.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Rule will not let that happen. Now, something you could also mention is this. Did they let the A&M win get to their head?
Probably.
Like, that was a big win for them.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you fall flat on your face to Mizzou. All year, here's what the offense looked like. And you saw it a lot in that Mizzou game. It was screen pass after screen pass after screen pass.
Mm-hmm.
That was a problem. And that's something that you would think Coach Satterfield addressed, because later on in the year, you saw a little more deep balls, you saw a little more variety, and boom, now the offense started adding points.
And when he did sprinkle in the screen passes, they were incredibly effective.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of what we saw early was him not trusting Spencer Rattler with fair reason, and not trusting the offensive line, because as you said, they kind of got blown up sometimes. I think that's part of the reason they went to those two tight end sets so much. It's going to be partially to protect the quarterback at Nebraska. I think at South Carolina, it was mainly to protect Spencer Rattler, so we had time to get those deep balls off. I think part of it's going to be that reason at Nebraska. I think the other part is going to be the lack of productive wide receivers that we know about right now. Hopefully some guys will step up. Real quick, I wanted to get to the point you made about having quarterbacks that move well. I think one of the issues we saw with deep balls early against South Carolina is, and this is just me speculating based on what I saw, I haven't heard Satterfield say this, is I think some of the deep ball plays he draws up and calls are almost a pseudo designed QB run. And I don't think Rattler was taking advantage of that, because I think he takes the opportunity to say, hey, if you've got the deep shot, take it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Air that thing out, get huge chunks of yardage. But because you're taking so much of the defense with you on those deep routes, it opens up a lot of QB run seams. And I think that's the thing early that we didn't see Spencer Rattler take advantage of, that I think we will see Jeff Sims take advantage of. I mentioned I don't think they're going to do a lot of specific QB called
like
runs
drawn up
with
runs.
Jeff Sims, but I think
when a play is broken,
I think you will see these pseudo called QB runs where it's like, yes, the primary option is a pass, and it's not really an RPO, but because of the nature of the pass call, there's going to likely be either a guy that's either in one-on-one downfield that you have a shot at, or you're going to have run lanes as your quarterback.
As much as we are hyping up Coach Satterfield here and what we think he can be at Nebraska, there are some things that will have to get answered, and that is, can Jeff Sims throw the ball downfield consistently?
Oh, I have no idea if they can execute these things.
Right.
I just think these are the things they're going to try
These are what they're going to
Yeah.
work on, and that's why it's an overall idea. And here's something else to mention. If you remember, back when Coach Rule got hired and he was looking around for his coordinators, he spent a lot of time on the phone with Coach Satterfield. He was the first call, and he was essentially begging him to come to Nebraska with him because he knew what Marcus Satterfield could bring.
And obviously, they'd worked together before as well.
But you wouldn't plead for a guy
unless
if you
were
didn't
sold.
believe.
Yeah, unless you were sold on his ability. And like I said,
that's 100% Coach Rule question.
Some of these things,
and maybe it's that simple. Maybe it's like, oh, he answers to me the way I want a coach to answer to me.
Some of these things you probably aren't going to see come to full fruition in year one, just based on personnel and guys getting used to the system and things like that. But I'm pretty confident that these are some of the themes that they're going to try and accomplish this year. And I think they'll have some level of success. I don't know which area. I would guess the QB run area, both with Sims and with Harburg, will be the area where they have the most success. I do think they'll have more success than South Carolina really ever did last year in your normal running back run game, because South Carolina really struggled with that last year. I think that's something Nebraska will be better at than South Carolina. And so we may see more of that than we did last year with Satterfield.
This is helpful. I'm not all the way there, but this is helpful.
You know, I'm
ideas are flowing.
I'm giving you a light outline.
And you know what?
Like.
Really, what I'd recommend to people to do is just go back and watch some some basic offensive film from South Carolina. You don't have to watch the full game. You don't have to do what Robbie's doing.
I fast forward through the defensive possessions.
Right. But just watch what South Carolina is doing and what they have in their bag of tricks, because that's something I'm excited about with Coach Satterfield that we may see more of is like, what the heck was that? Like, not flea flickers, but like
some like misdirection, and
that's what I'm talking about with bags of tricks.
And maybe the most impressed I was by him was his ability to have a feel for the game of when to call those plays. That was maybe his strength last year at South Carolina.
So all good things. Looking forward to kickoff against Minnesota on August 31st. First game of Nebraska's football season. We will see what the offense will officially look like then, because I know for a fact we will only hear about what it could look like until that point. We'll take a short break. Mike Sauter up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sauter.
I would agree, Damon.
Mike Sauter.
Yeah.
Mike Sauter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sauter.
Hey, we are back live from the Pinnacle Bank Championship at the club at Indian Creek. Sauter, I heard you kind of like grunt when you heard the open. Are you asking for it to be changed? Like, what are we thinking?
We're all good. We're all good. Shane.
Shane, I guess I must have just heard him cough or something.
Why is Shane walking?
We're talking to Mike Sauter. If you couldn't tell, high school sports insider for Hurrdat Sports. He's been all over the place this week. And it was going to start off as a crazy week for you because is this the Monday that you like planned initially to go to 4 different practices and then said, nah, I probably shouldn't do that?
Well, that isn't really the true story.
Oh, I know. I know the true story. We'll get into it. I want to know if this was the initial idea.
Yeah, this past Monday, I planned to at least go to 3.
And how many did you make it to?
I made it to 2.
Oh, what happened?
Well, I slept on the couch in the office. There's a green couch in our office, and I slept on there.
First off, was it comfy?
It actually is.
Okay, nice.
It's pretty comfortable. So, like, if you ever need to take a nap, you can take one there. With arms wide open.
With arms wide open.
Oh God! But I brought a pillow and a blanket, like from my
you were
house.
prepared.
I was prepared, and I got to the office about 2:45 a.m. on Monday
because you started at Pavilion La
Vista midnight practice,
which was funny because you had that breakfast burrito, which if it sounded
it was
just
actually
like,
pretty good.
Well, you were like first talking about it, and I'm like, is this guy drunk?
No,
like because you're like
I very much
a pretty
asked,
good breakfast burrito. I'm like, is he at practice or is he coming home from the bar?
I was very intentional on asking, hey, is there onions or peppers in this? And they said no. And I said, okay, I'll have one. And it was pretty good.
You're not an onion or pepper guy?
No.
You can't even have it just mixed in?
No.
Imagine being picky, though.
I hate onions.
Like, if they offered, like, hey, Sauter, you want a breakfast burrito?
Here's
and you come back with, well, is it without onions and pickles?
Can we Sauter soapbox for a minute?
Go for it.
Always.
When is it not a Sauter soapbox for this segment?
I feel like I have to talk a lot quieter out
we
here.
We do, because they're on the green right now.
Right over there. But onions, peppers, things like that, garlic, like actual real garlic. Why would you put something in your mouth that you know is going to make your breath stink? Why would you do that?
Because it tastes good.
No,
because it tastes good.
It doesn't.
Why would you put a piece of chewing gum in afterward so that you can hide it?
Well, mask it. I don't even go with hide it. Anyway, so I was at that practice. I set my alarm on my phone because that's what people do nowadays. At 2:50 in the morning when I laid down, and I set it for 7 a.m. instead of 5 a.m.
That's a problem.
Consciously thinking that, oh yeah, I need to be at Westside by 8 when I actually needed to be at Westside
at 6.
Yeah, you messed up there.
Definitely messed up there.
And you told people off. Too, which actually made it worse for you.
Well, I told Coach that I was going to be there on Monday morning, and when I didn't show up, I didn't want him to think that I just bailed on it on purpose, which is not true. So yeah, then Tuesday morning I go to Westside and
you ran some sprints,
and I had to do what they call warrior makers. Now, people on Twitter were on me for the warrior makers and only doing it 15 yards, not every 5. And I'm like, hey, I was just told what I was supposed to do by the Coach Lamondre. It's the best intro, by the way, in all of high school football is that one. Or Bellevue West is pretty good though too. But that where they do the cricket noise and the lights turn off.
Little West Side Story.
You're like,
the beer bottle.
You are very like, holy crap. I don't know what you're talking about. I just know it as cricket sound. I don't watch movies.
Did you say West Side Story?
Yeah.
That's not that.
Isn't it from West Side Story?
No, that's the Sharks and the Jets gonna have a knife fight.
What am I thinking? What musical?
I have no idea.
Isn't it from a musical?
The East Siders or whatever, probably. That Snoop Dogg song.
East Side Boys. Now I can start rapping. Which
What's the name of that movie? I'm blanking on the name of the movie as well.
The Regulators?
No, the name of the movie.
It's okay.
No.
Street Gang in New York.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm very confused right now.
I could have screwed it up.
What's
I
happening?
don't watch movies.
I know. So Sauter, you were out at Bennington this morning.
Bennington this morning, bright and early, 6 a.m.
Let's talk to us about the reigning Class B champs.
Two-time.
Excuse me. Pardon. I didn't want to disrespect.
They haven't lost in
a
2
minute,
years.
in a hot minute.
So,
and you came up here telling us, they may not lose again.
They may not
ever, maybe.
And they may not this year either. They maybe like turnovers happen or something. I was overly impressed by their defensive line.
Okay.
Our defense in general, in particular up the middle at all 3 levels. Their defensive line is really good. Man, this Jansen kid wrecked their offensive line all day.
Yeah.
He's going to be very, very good. Like when I say very good, like he is. They moved it. He was going to play kind of both ways. And in Bennington, they don't have to do that, which is an oddity for Class B. That's why they're so good, because they just play
they're big
one
enough
side of the ball.
Yeah.
There's so many so many kids on the team. But that kid was killing people. Man, he's going to have a good year. And then Kyler Lortzen, who is their leading tackler, he's back. He's just a junior, the wrestler. I actually joked with him. I said, "Hey, not bad for a wrestler today." He made a couple of huge plays, like really just like, wow, how did he make that play? So, Bennington's going to be really good again and be
surprise,
really good. Their schedule is, not easy again, but I think they're going to be really, really good. Sandman is their quarterback, and this dude just slings it.
Yeah,
just like
whipping it all over the
arm angles, and it might not be a perfect spiral every time.
But it's got to get there.
Just slinging.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know if that's gonna work all the time, but it'll work most of the time.
And it's gonna look phenomenal.
Yeah, they lost they lost their top 2 wide receivers from last year. So
is that the biggest question mark for them?
Yeah, that and corner.
Okay.
Corner, they lost their 2 starters. Corner, Owen Douglas was one last
But you
year
think they'll be fine?
I think they'll be fine. It's just a matter of
finding guys to step
and in
up.
Class B, not many people throw it around like that to have to really worry about it.
Sure.
So, but I think they'll be fine. Coach Leonard, man, his practice was so efficient. We're talking 6 a.m. and dudes are like ready. And there was no extra, talking and extra nothing. It was so good. It was such an efficient, well-run, I guess would be the term, practice. I was very impressed with just the structure of it, which, if you won that much, you kind of
sure. Is it fair to say that's the practice you've been most impressed by so far?
No, West Side on Tuesday morning.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
defending Class A
really,
champs, obviously.
God, they're good.
So, what impressed you most about just how they ran practice?
No,
or what
just
they were
their
doing?
Size and athleticism.
I mean, obviously,
as
a ton of talent on that
so,
team.
they're
a
really
lot of
good.
returning talent too.
Yes, their defense has a chance to be extremely good. I mean, Christian Jones. Obviously, the knock on Christian Jones is that he is just a t-shirt shorts camp guy.
Sure.
I will tell you what, that guy I've never seen Thomas Fedoni, maybe it was that guy in high school, but I don't think I've seen a kid that is more put together than Christian Jones. I took a photo of
physically
him.
just
Did I show you this photo?
You sent us a Fedoni photo yesterday.
Yeah, that looked good too. But this Christian Jones photo that I took of him like planting his left foot, his leg.
My.
Yeah.
I mean, that
this
is
makes
something
for great radio.
That is something you paint.
Yeah,
like that's a photo.
I saw that on your
Instagram, yeah,
Twitter or Instagram. Yeah, it looks like he's got like the muscle separation of like a bodybuilder.
He doesn't miss leg day.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So anyway, he looks great. I like their front. Cam Bell is, a year older and all that stuff now. He is so strong. They were doing like a fumble drill, and like the dude couldn't knock the ball. It's so funny. Watching him do that. But Cam will be huge for them up front. RJ Eckert, can't talk. RJ Eckert is another guy, I think, a defensive end that's going to be pretty good. JQ, Osler, God, why can I not speak today?
I don't know, but the flies are getting you today.
There's a ton of flies. I don't know what is going on.
Your fly's undone.
No, it's not. I don't have a fly. Shorts on. So anyway, yeah, Osler's going to be good. Obviously, Caleb Benning's back. Not sure about his dad, but he's good.
Back on the show or back like on the field?
Caleb Benning? You've had him on the show?
No, we're talking about, you said his dad.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Does he still work here?
Yes, he does. He's coming back Monday.
Does he work here?
Hey, when you look at their schedule, when you look at West Side's schedule up and down, and you look at Bennington's, because these are two really dominant defending state champion teams, who would you say is the team on each schedule that will give them the most trouble, that you think would be a potential L? Say both teams are fully healthy. They're playing a team that's fully healthy, how they look today. Who would be the toughest opponent?
West Side starts with prep every year. Prep schedule is the toughest in this state, easily.
Gauntlet.
Yeah.
West Side has a gauntlet too, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the first 5 games and you're like, okay.
Okay, week 3 for them, Bellevue West. Is Bellevue West.
Yeah.
It's Bellevue West week 4. So, because they play next Friday. Week 0 game. So, that's probably the one. Grand Island's always a little scary. Kearney is always really good. Coach Cool does a fantastic job.
No North Platte?
No.
Well, and they have to go out to Kearney, right?
Yes.
So that's always
that'll be juiced up
a little challenging.
For them. Yeah. And then Millard South is an away game, and then they finish with Northeast. So I would say probably Bellevue West is the one that
big hurdle
can give. I'm gonna say this, gosh, and I hate doing this because people are like, oh, they're talking about West Side all the time. Well, they're good.
Yeah, they're the state champ. It's not like we're puffing them up.
Like they're really good. And
they're not just a state champ. They've been there.
Like, and they've got a ton of Division I talent. Like it's not like they're just being.
I'm gonna go out on this limb here. I guess I'm not a fan of doing this because it come back to bite you, and that means people will just.
How strong's the limb?
Get in your face after football games after they win, which has happened to me before. Or they lose or something. I told you. Like okay, bud, calm down.
Good talk, man.
Yeah, thanks. But I think West Side, if fully healthy the entire year, could go down. This team could go down as one of the all-timers.
Wow.
I really do. Like I wasn't around, I mean,
so like
I wasn't covering this stuff like I am now in, the 80s, 90s, whatever. But
so you're talking
they are
like
so talented.
What is it? It's like, what are the ones that always get brought up? Like, was like 87 prep?
Yeah.
03 Millard North.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like you're thinking West Side is like,
I think
could potentially, if they stay healthy, in that pantheon.
I think they could
all-time.
I really do.
Nebraska
I think they're gonna just be dominant enough with the scores will be so lopsided in a lot of their games that I think that could be the case. I also, the Rezak's coming back. He had 19 touchdowns rushing and 19 touchdowns passing.
Is that good? That seems pretty good.
Pretty good.
Also, I thought he got a lot better over the course of last year as a thrower.
Yeah, that's there's a knock on him. I guess that's it.
But that was a dramatic improvement. I thought
receiver. Jalen Lloyd's gone for them, but they got plenty there. They'll use.
Well, hopefully,
CJ
you got
Jones,
Caleb Benning healthy for the whole year.
Keenan Cotton's the guy though.
Okay, yeah.
Keenan Cotton's gonna be take the top off guy that because he can really run. So they're good. Ty Kiefer's another. Bo Ryan is super underrated. Middle linebacker for them too.
Is that Kenzo's little brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kenzo Cotton. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That dude could fly.
And he's and Keenan's a track guy too.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna be selfish here.
Can we not talk about West Side anymore?
Yeah, no, I'm moving on.
Okay.
I'm gonna be selfish here and make you talk about Millard North.
I would okay, let me I next, so I have 4 more practices next week that I'll be able to get to. I need to call Coach Petito and see if I can get out there and watch him. I don't know. I don't have a good gauge right now, but I do know that 2 years ago they played all these freshmen.
Yes. And last year they were sophomores. This is a junior class now. You got like Mooberry and Vermont.
Yes.
A couple of guys that are fairly high profile.
So you're
super duper talented.
That it, starts to
come together a little bit. Because they were the last game of the season away from making the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
As with all those guys as sophomores.
Right. Correct.
Now as juniors, which it used to be at Miller North. If you played before you were junior, it was a miracle.
Right.
These guys have 2 years of experience now. So I'll be interested.
They should. I said this. I think Damon asked me who my dark horse was, and I guess I picked them.
Okay, so there's
to be my dark horse.
There's some
I think they
upside
have
there.
a chance to be really good. I think they,
if it comes together for them.
Yeah, I think they could potentially be like a quarterfinalist team.
Okay. That would be a big step up for them
wins.
from where they've been.
Couple wins in the playoffs.
The last full few years.
Mhm.
Well, I'll be interested to talk to you next week then after you've been out there.
I'm going to try and make it out there.
Okay.
I really am. But I want to go to a bunch more places.
Sure.
Are you
just running out of time?
Yeah.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, because week 0 is a week from today, right?
Yeah. Prep. Prep plays Bellevue West on Friday night, and then there's a handful of B games like Beatrice, the Elkhorn North play. Norris and Blair is a good one on next Friday night at Blair, I think. I want to get to Waverly. I want to get to Ashland. I would like to get to Millard North. I would like to get to Oakland Craig. I want to get to.
Okay.
I would like to get to Omaha Central, but I only have 4 days and school starts, and that means practices are only after school.
So running out of time.
I can't get to
you
5
can
or
only
6.
get to Pierce.
I'm not sure Pierce is going to be as good this year. Probably not. No, I'm not going to get to Pierce. So I just can't get everywhere.
Yeah, the
as
timing
much
doesn't
as
work out.
I want to, but later today I'm going to Plattsmouth.
Okay.
And then tomorrow morning I will be at Scott.
Oh, Scott. Okay.
Catholic. Yeah.
So
for scrimmage in the morning.
Nice. That'll be good.
Yeah.
So
and then I think I'm coming back here for whatever.
For more golf stuff.
I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing.
So you also went out to Millard South though this week.
Yes.
And that's a team that
won our 7-on-7.
We've highly been talking about. Won the 7-on-7. Do you trust 7-on-7 as much as, or do you look into 7-on-7 as much as you should? Probably not, but it's still reps for these guys out there, and you get their skill players though, and so you have to really like what they're doing at the skill positions.
Yeah, well, I really like their defensive line. J.R. Laquana is very good. Fernando, I don't know him that well to call him by that name, but he's really good. South Dakota, going to South Dakota State. After practice, they even called him and said, "Hey, no neck, come here." And he was like, "What?" I was like, "You don't have a neck. He's so big, right? His shoulders strong." So I love their defensive line. And Aiden Miller is a guy on their defensive line that transferred back. He was at Millard South before. He transferred back to Millard South after living in Texas the last year or two or whatever. Really like them. Caden Olin is a state champion wrestler. He is not a person you want to meet in a dark alley.
So I feel like a lot of high school kids in this area are people I don't want to meet in a dark alley.
Pretty tough kid. So I like Millard South. The thing is can Tamala, whoever wins the quarterback position, can they use their feet enough like Cam Kozal did last year, which made them super effective? And I will say this, and he played last year, and I don't know if budding star is the word, but AJ Amarion Jackson played as a freshman last year, and he is a budding star. Like, he will be, if things continue to trend in the right direction, he will no doubt be at least a group of 5 kid, if not higher than that. He's super long, catches the ball, catch radius is big, runs clean, crisp routes. I love that kid. I think he's got a chance to be pretty special. Not quite there yet. Like, he doesn't have the over-the-top athleticism that a Davon Hall, for example, had when he was younger, as a freshman and whatever. He's still growing into his body, but you can kind of see it. I think Millard South's in that top 5-ish range, right? So, yeah.
Did we talk about Elkhorn South yet?
Not
with
yet.
Carson Rauner? I mean, they return a lot of people.
They lost a lot, too. I mean, their defensive line, they lost their 2 best defensive linemen in Maverick Noonan and Noah Bustard. But Ashton Murphy is pretty good, and he'll play.
Yeah, I feel like I heard his name once or twice.
He's gonna wreck stuff on the defensive side.
He's gonna wreck stuff.
Yeah, him and Henry Prohaska, if he can stay healthy, he's kind of been nicked up and banged up a little bit. But if he can stay healthy, I think they got a chance to be pretty good up front, especially on the defensive line. Elkhorn South is now Basket. His running back.
You sound like you're trying to order at a French restaurant.
It is. It's got a T, but it's spelled it's pronounced with a K.
I believe it's called banquet.
No,
it's
pronounced
croissant.
So he's got, but Brady, he's going to, he played a lot last year, spelled Cole Ballard last year, but I think he has a chance to have a pretty huge year. The question is wide receiver for them. What do they do? But they always got like 50 wide receivers / cornerbacks there. So
they'll figure it out.
They'll kind of get that one figured out. I do like their size, obviously. Elkhorn South anymore, just every year after year, their size is really good. I like Rauner a lot. He's super smart, committed to Holy Cross. They got nice pieces, and another top 5-ish, conversation.
Let me ask you this: we've only got a couple minutes left, at least in this segment. You mentioned Millard North as kind of a dark horse team. Is there a dark horse player, if you will, maybe somebody that isn't getting a ton of attention now, that is going to have a really big impact on the state this year?
Yeah, well, if you watch every one of the practice reports I've done, at the end of them, I give a breakout player for every team.
So who's the breakout player from the breakout players?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? The top 10% of the top 10%?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, man, that's really tough. Gosh. And I hate to say this, and it's not really that, but it kind of is, because he kind of took a dip last year, but Jamez Ross.
Okay.
Well, I heard he lost a lot of weight.
Well,
he looks really good.
Him or Nolan Feller. Nolan Feller at Millard South is super underappreciated as a running back.
Okay.
He is super underappreciated. Another running back I really liked was Peyton Prestito at Papio High, Buena Vista. Those guys are in the conversation for best running back in the state this year type stuff.
Okay.
In A at least. I think those are probably the names. I didn't give you a one.
That's all right. You gave me a handful. That's good. I like it.
Yeah. And Ross is just because freshman year was great, middle school was great, and then
a little sophomore slump.
And then he took a junior year slump-ish. 787 yards is a slump.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, Sutter, well, stick around for us because I want you to take on Ravi in trivia.
I ain't got nowhere to go.
That boy. That's what I like to hear. We're going to do trivia, Dog Eat Dog versus Ravi when we come back.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
All right, it's that time again. Coffee and Cream as we start to wind this thing down. Trivia now. And Matt.
I can't hear myself. There we go.
Matt Verzal to close out the show.
I'm winning.
Cam trying to figure out whose mic is whose because Ravi is not in the chair right now. He's taking on Mike Sauter, who is overly competitive, if you guys couldn't have guessed. So we had 3 questions.
I feel bad for those people over there because if I don't win, I might get kicked out.
That's all right. This is supposed to be the party hole.
Something loud, and then they're going to be like, hey.
They yelled at me yesterday.
For being too loud?
Yeah, I know it's hard to believe, but they did. So 3 questions here. You know how it goes. You get the answer choices. Ravi doesn't. And if you get more right than him, you win. Sound good?
Sounds amazing.
All right. Ravi is off, I think, in the Patron zone. He may be in the bathroom. I don't know where he went, but he's not here.
That boat later. I know that. Whatever that boat is.
How many times have you said that today?
A lot. I want to be on that.
All right. Let's start this thing off.
Yeah.
We have music, Shaner?
Quiet, Shane. I don't know. I'm going to. Yeah. Remember that push-up contest that one time Shane and I did?
Oh, I remember.
Just wait.
I remember. All right, let's get this thing going. Ready?
Yeah.
Who was the first ever Pinnacle Bank Championship winner in 2017?
No idea.
Was it
Jack Nicklaus?
No. You get answer choices, Mike. Come on, man. You walked past the signs when you came over here.
I did, and I didn't really pay attention.
Was it Scott Kacheski, Sam Ryder, or Seth Reeves?
I'm going to go with Seth Reeves. I know it wasn't. I know it wasn't Gooch. Yeah.
Question number 2. Matt Olson hit his 40th home run of the season yesterday afternoon, tying Shohei Ohtani for the Major League Baseball lead. He's on pace for 57 and only 12 away from breaking the single-season record held by who for the Braves? Is it Andrew Jones, Hank Aaron, or Chipper Jones?
I mean, I'm going to just go on a limb and say it's Hank Aaron. It's just... Okay. No, wait. Was it Andrew Jones? Andrew Jones feels like the sneaky, like, where they
I love how you're talking through this.
Yeah. Let's go with Andrew Jones.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah. I feel like you just told me I'd talk myself out of it.
Question number 3. Over the last 10 years, Ohio State has held the record for most wins by a Big Ten team. Who's second on that list? Is it Wisconsin, Iowa, or Michigan?
See, I was going to say Michigan, but Wisconsin is the sneaky pick there. Yep, Wisconsin.
Are you sure?
Are you talking? Why are you trying to talk me out of it? Am I wrong?
I
don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong.
The tiebreaker question. What was the first?
Iowa, though.
You want to go back?
Let me go back. No, Wisconsin.
Okay. Tiebreaker question. What was the first ever Pinnacle Bank Championship winning score? Closest to?
Easy. I'm not great at math.
You don't have to say you don't have to say minus whatever or plus whatever.
Oh, you didn't want the total?
Yeah, I don't need the total.
Okay. I was going to go minus. Well, the 1 year it was at the other place, it was like minus 19. I'm going to go minus. Let's go even number 15 under par.
Okay.
Right in the kind of middle.
15 under. Thank you, Mike. Let's wave Ravi back over. And while we wait for Ravi, let's take a moment and tell you about Dingman's Collision Center. Dingman's is your one-stop shop for all your car needs. They have some awesome nonprofits that you get to give back to after your car is serviced by them, and they do the donation. Epic for Girls, the Collective Hope, and Community Alliance. Epic for Girls is who they really like to focus on over there at Dingman's, or they put extra emphasis on giving money to them because they serve as the umbrella organization to amplify sports programming, call attention to the issues of inequity in sports, and address incidences of violence occurring in the world of youth sports here in Omaha. Just a fantastic organization to support and a fantastic company that supports a great organization. That's Dingman's Collision Center. Ravi, welcome back.
What's up?
You ready?
I'm ready to go.
Are you nervous?
It's going to be hard for me to keep my cool and be quiet. Because I don't, gosh, no. Can I
Isn't
take
that kind
one
of your natural
back?
state of
Mike
being?
Sauter,
Having a hard time.
What one question? You were confused on
The
two.
Big Ten one. All right, go ahead.
I'm not letting you change your answer
That's
anymore.
all right. It's too late.
Let's roll. Let's do it.
All right, Ravi, question number 1. Who won the first ever Pinnacle Bank Championship in 2017?
Ooh.
You walked past this sign 4 times this week.
I sure did. I want to say it was.
And you do have a Hail Mary if you ever need it. Remember, you get 1.
It was Gucheski, right? Or Rob? Yeah, you can't tell me, but yeah, go ahead. That's my answer. That's my answer. Because Skins was 18, so it wasn't him. All right, I'm going Gucheski.
All right, question number 2. Matt Olson hit his 40th home run of the season yesterday afternoon, tying Shohei Ohtani for the MLB lead. He's on pace for 57 and only 12 away from breaking the single season record held by who for the Braves? Question number 3. Over the last 10 years, Ohio State has held the record for most wins by a Big Ten team.
Okay.
Who's second on that list?
Ooh, in the last 10 years?
Trick question.
I'm just going to go Michigan. I don't want to overthink it.
Okay, no Hail Marys. Robbie going nuts today. And your tiebreaker question, what was the first ever Pinnacle Bank Championship winning score?
Oh, minus 16.
Ooh. Thank you, Robbie. All right, let's go back through the answers.
Feel good about that.
Robbie, how you feeling
right now?
I have no idea. I know Andrew Jones is right. That's the only one.
I'm so glad I changed that one.
It's Andrew Jones. He had 51. I know that one is 100% correct.
That's the trick.
All right, let's go back through these answers. Question number 1: Who won the first ever? Who won the first ever Pinnacle Bank Championship in 2017? Robbie, you said Scott Gucheski. You said Seth Reeves. The answer is Sam Ryder.
All right, 0 for 0. Nice.
Okay, I was wrong on that
When
one.
you walk past 18, you can see 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22.
I'll be honest, I don't pay a ton of attention to my surroundings.
What do you mean? We pointed out this week how wrinkly those things look.
Yeah, I didn't read them.
Just keep them every year.
I was like, oh, look, there's some nice pictures of golfers.
All right, question number 2. Matt Olson hit his 40th home run of the season after tying Shohei Ohtani. He's on pace for 57, only 12 away from breaking the single season record. Is it Andrew Jones, Hank Aaron, or Chipper Jones? You both said Andrew Jones. You both said correct.
51 home runs.
This could come down to that Big Ten.
Because Hank Aaron never hit 50 in a season.
Nervous.
And question number 3. Over the last 10 years, Ohio State has held the record for most wins by a Big Ten team. Held by who? Is it Wisconsin, Iowa, or Michigan in second place? Who said Michigan? Robbie?
I said Michigan.
Mike, you said Wisconsin, but wanted to change it to Iowa, and then you also thought about Michigan. All 3 choices.
I did, but I stuck with Wisconsin.
And Wisconsin is correct.
Ah, there you go.
Let's go.
There you go.
Let's go.
Mike Sauter wins 2-1, and just for funsies.
Yeah, what was the tie?
What was the tiebreaker answer? First ever Pinnacle Bank winning score.
This was
Robbie, you said 16 under. Mike Sauter, you said 15 under. The answer.
You Price is Right me.
I didn't mean to. I didn't know. I was standing by a generator.
The answer is 21 under.
Yeah,
so Robbie would have taken it home. But
it's all right.
The name of the game is getting the 3 questions right, not the tiebreaker. And Mike Sauter will stretch out his win, and he can actually be happy the rest of today while he's out on the golf course.
Well done.
Nice win.
I'm just here for the boat ride.
Let's just talk about a guy that was so nervous about Robbie walking back up here and wanting to change its answer once again
I almost
when
changed
Robbie
to
sat
Iowa.
down.
Thank God I didn't put Iowa. Who
And it's
likes
actually
that?
Iowa in 4th. So
Wow.
it's
I knew that a couple years there was like only like 6-7 wins.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that was my kind of like
So I believe it's Ohio State, Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, and then who do you think is next on that list?
After Iowa?
After Iowa.
After Iowa.
Not Penn State.
Yeah.
There we go.
Penn
That
State
makes
would be
sense.
right. So that is the top 5. They fill out the top 5. And over the last 10 years in total of win totals in the Big Ten, those are the teams. Nice work, boys.
You know what I'm in?
Well done, Sauter. Well done.
My bald head.
You know, somebody brought bug spray, but I don't
need
think anybody brought
sunscreen for
sunscreen.
my
Yeah,
head.
I don't know.
Never mind. Avery said we have some.
Definitely for my head.
Thank goodness she's standing by.
It's hot.
It is the sun.
Right
well,
here.
we're baking our
Down on us
backs
a little bit.
Bacon your back, baby back ribs.
Bacon back? What?
I don't know.
No, we'll be right back.
Oh,
How
Okay,
about
I'm out
that?
of here. Or can I stay for Verzal?
You want to stay for
I
Verse?
talked to him last night.
Let's do
too,
it.
so-
Stay for Verse.
In Texas.
We have the 3 Musketeers to talk to Matt Versal. What could go wrong? He's coming up next here on Coffee and Cream.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Now let's find out what Matt Verzal is better at. Telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Verzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Verzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Verzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How does that happen?
Here is Matt Verzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Welcome back to Coffee and Cream minus Damon Benning. I am the captain speaking. Matt Verzal.
You should have came in with like, this is your captain speaking.
This is your captain speaking. Matt Verzal. How we doing? This is Mike Sauter, Ravil Lulla, and Andrew Rogers. I just decided to stay for your segment because, well, why not?
Yeah, exactly. What's up, boys? How we doing?
How you doing? You got the Three Stooges today, Matty.
Yeah, you got a full stage there.
Yeah, we do. How you doing?
We are above the dirt for another couple hours at least, so we got that going for us. But yeah, just Friday scrambling around.
Yeah, how's practice going for you guys?
It's good. Boys, they've done a good job being in shape. You know, my position group is usually the detractor of that. We're usually lagging behind in all the conditioning, but the boys have done a really nice job. They've made their times on the runs and all that stuff. So proud of them for that. And got another couple weeks here, and we'll get to go figure it out on the field.
Hey, but real quick, and I'll kind of lay out after this question, but
I don't care.
Okay. Scott has 32 seniors this year on the football team. Is that right?
Yeah, they got a big class. Yep.
Yeah. So back to Scott as we know it is what we're saying, right? Is Scott back? Not the question.
I can't give you that answer because everything changes when you get a different opponent that's, you know, your same size.
Okay.
And we're fortunate we get to start 2-time defending state champions. So, I mean, no better way to go figure it out than somebody that just won the last two. So we'll learn a lot about ourselves and early on in the season. And those 32 seniors we're working on some of their leadership skills right now, which is taking some hold, and we'll see what happens. It's everything. Like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, that Jansen kid from the 2-time defending state champions is definitely going to punch your offensive line in the face. I saw that this morning.
Yeah, I told you.
Holy.
I tried to warn you. I was Jimmy, the other tackle.
He's all right. It's good. I think they'll be all right. Yeah, I think they'll be all right. I think their numbers are so good. I think Bennington's going to be pretty good again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They coach the hell out of those guys. They're very knowledgeable about the game. They do a great job out there at Bennington.
You just getting some inside scouting reports from our guy Sauter over here?
We talk.
Nope. I worked with both those gentlemen in the off season.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
I work with kids that we play against because in the first day I tell them all, I was like, I want you to beat our ass. I was like, I want you to beat us senseless because that's the only way we can get better. So they know the drill. It's a little weird at first, but they get over it, and we technique them up, and then they go and they have their seasons.
Verse, I wanted to ask you about some of the comments that Matt Rule made this week. He was talking about how he's riding with the real ones and how he's not going to change who he is in the week to try and win games. When you hear those types of comments, how much of that do you think is him letting the media and the public know, and how much of that do you think he's trying to message to his own team at that point?
Every statement has a reason, and it's all, we like to look too far into stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's uttered has to have a meaning. Who's he trying to get to? What's he trying to say? Listen to the words and interpret them how you want to interpret them. There's no, trust me, if Matt Rule wants to deliver a message to the fan base or to his team, he will do it directly. There's not going to be the haze. Is there a hidden meaning here? Ooh, his tone changed. Did you see his eyes pop when he said that word? And all that crap. That stuff is so nauseating.
Verse, what are your thoughts on an offensive lineman potentially wearing a solo digit?
That is illegal. You cannot do that. You have to be a 50 to 79.
So you don't think that any lineman on Nebraska's team will be wearing a digit below 10?
So you think they're going to change the rules of football so a lineman can wear it? Like it's impossible. You cannot do it. It's in the rule book.
I didn't know that was an actual rule.
Mm-hmm.
You just thought they all picked high numbers?
No, it's just what it was for years and years and years, all over the place, across the board.
Oh, a lineman has to have a 50 to 79 number. That's stated in there. They cannot have an 80. They cannot have anything in the 40s.
So with those digits, though, do you like the 4 that were picked right away, and Sims and Kemp and Gifford, and I'm missing one, Reimer? Do you like those 4?
Yeah. I mean, they're good players. You know, if that's their acknowledgement of guys that worked hard in the camp, I haven't been to camp every day, so I can't pick out on that. The Kemp kid, the day that I was there, made some plays. Like, don't let the size fool you. Little buddy can do some stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, it's cool. They've obviously gone through their coaching evaluation of it, and those are the 4 that they came up with. And that's who we've chosen as our head coach. And if he's picked them, that's good by me. So they've obviously turned his eye, and I'm all in for it.
Vers, I wanted to ask you, the coaching staff had mentioned they feel pretty good about if they've got 7 offensive linemen that they like. From your perspective, is there a number that you have in mind if you're like, hey, I can count on this many guys, whether you rotate them in or whether you mostly ride with your 5? Like, how many guys are you thinking like, hey, I need this many that I can trust to feel good about going into the season?
7 is a good number. That'll give you your 5 starters. Then you got a swing tackle and a swing guard. When, you know, in 3 years down the road at Nebraska, you're probably going to be able to have 10. Now, all of this has to you can like something, and that's fine, but that like has to now go out and play. Like, I would reserve all judgment on the offensive line until a game is played, because that's the one kind of common link carryover from last year. They've got a lot to prove. Got some new parts, got some new pieces, but that group itself has a lot to establish and an identity to change. They've got to have the biggest overhaul of everything. They've got to go from an error prone. I think the stat was that 11% of plays run by Nebraska's offensive line, at least one offensive lineman had the wrong blocking assignment, according to Pro Football Focus. That's got to get down. Like, they got to be like top 10, because some of them do have great physical attributes. They're not top tier physical attributes, but if you're technically sound and you're mentally tough, you can narrow that gap of maybe some physical lacking. That's why that attention to detail, that repetition, that knowledge of scheme is always something that is the great equalizer. You may be faster than me. I have the count and I know where I'm going. You have to react to what I'm doing. And that's where it can all level out. So if they can change their identity and become, instead of a critique point for the team, if they become a strong point of the team, now you can say, hey, that was a good pick by that offensive staff.
Sean, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Well, it's hot.
Vers, I got a quick one here about conference realignment, because we were talking about it a lot this week and how it impacts the student athlete. Just from a former player's perspective, I know you played the big sport that is actually going to really benefit from this change, but from a student athlete perspective, do you feel for the other athletes in other sports that may be impacted because they have to travel further?
No. Because to play that sport they're playing right now, you tell me they didn't play any AAU, they didn't play any travel softball, they didn't play any travel baseball.
Right, but are you traveling from coast to coast, like from a Maryland to a USC?
If you don't think they went from Washington to Florida to play in a tournament, you're crazy.
Yeah, some players did.
They've traveled. Like, get over it. Like, I mean, seriously, that's what you're going to whine about that. Oh my gosh, we have to travel. Now, it sucks for Rutgers, but you join the conference and you cash that fat check. See, that's the part nobody wants to talk about, right? We're going to cut you a fat check, Rutgers. You got to figure out how you're going to travel it. And you signed up for this. You wanted to be in the Big Ten. So get over it. Find good, cheap air travel. Maybe buy a plane. Buy your own. Charter yourself out there. But like the other sport, oh my gosh, I wanted to play at home. You're still going to play home games. It ain't like every game you're going to play is on the road. I mean, come on. Like, and if not, if anything, the kid can learn a business lesson. You are a commodity in a business. They are doing what's best for the business. that business has a chance to make a boatload of money. You can go along for the ride. If you want to throw your hissy fit and you stomp your feet, door swings out. Don't let it hit you where the good Lord split you, because we got a girl waiting to take your spot. And she got no problem traveling to Nebraska. She got no problem traveling to Iowa. And he's got no problem going to Rutgers. So that whole narrative, like, toughen up. I mean, seriously.
Transfer portal is a real thing.
Hit it.
Vers, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much. Enjoy your Friday. We'll talk again next week.
Be good, boys.
Yeah. That's Matt Verzal, the former Husker and Pisons Pizzeria owner. And that'll do it for Coffee and Cream as we are out at the Pinnacle Bank Championship this week. Stay tuned to Hurrdat Sports. We are pushing out social media content all week long with interviews with players and other things. Come join us here. We'll see you next week.